Chapter 281. The warning sign was up. As for whether others believed it or not, Feng Zhao couldn't care less. Back in Muzhou, the farm's veterinarian team had only checked the health of the shepherd dogs. They had not tested their bite strength, so no one had known about it. This time, the people from Pet had also tested it, which was also within the scope of Feng Zhao's plans. When Feng Zhao had seen the options for the bite test, after some consideration, he had still chosen it. In the future, if he brought Curly Hair out, there would be a day when his strong bite would be exposed. Rather than hiding it, he might as well use Pet to take the initiative to expose it. In his daily life, Curly Hair had more or less displayed this unusual bite force. Furthermore, it was far greater than what the Pet had measured. Before the examination, Feng Zhao had specially told Curly Hair about it and had given him hand signals before the test. However, the smell on the Pet testing machine was too stimulating. Curly Hair had been agitated and hadn't been able to control it well. However, 600 kilograms was the result of suppression. This result was enough. After sending Hua Kaining and the others off and letting Yan Biao and Zuyu rest, Feng Zhao called Curly Hair into the study for lessons. Curly Hair still had a lot to learn. For example, he hadn't restrained himself enough today. On the other side, Hua Kaining and the others, who had just come out of the hospital, flew straight back to Pet headquarters. On the way, Hua Kaining received a call from his superior. "Did it go well?" the man on the other side asked. "It went well," Hua Kaining said. "Don't say, probably. It sounds like you've encountered some trouble? Feng Zhao not cooperating? They don't want you to test too much? He should at least test the most basic ones, right? It can't be too simple." Feng Zhao is very cooperative, but the two he's raising, super fierce. There was a moment of silence on the other end. How fierce could he be? In the circle of pet owners, super fierce and super cute often meant the same thing. Thinking about Feng Zhao's two pets again, after a brief silence, the other side smiled and said, "Understood." "No, boss, you don't understand." Hua Kaining was agitated. His arm, which had just been reapplied with medicine, began to hurt again. The pain caused his face to contort momentarily. "Boss, I said, I meant it literally."
It was really super savage.
It was extremely terrifying. If you don't believe me, I'll send you the complete file. You'll know once you read it. In order not to invade the privacy of the host, they were not allowed to use hidden cameras. All filming equipment would be clearly explained to the host, and all the short videos and photos they had taken would be shown to Feng Zhao. Therefore, they did not take any more evidence. But the file data was there, so Hua Kaining immediately sent it over. He also took a photo of his swollen arm and sent it over. After a while, the other side finally replied, "Thank you for your hard work. This time, I'm risking my life to create a file. I've just come out of the hospital, and I've been traumatized. Only a raise can comfort me," Hua Kaining said seriously. He was playing dead over there. At the pet headquarters, after receiving the files sent by Hua Kaining, the experts began to evaluate the two newly recorded pets. After seeing these two files, the experts all raised their eyebrows. It looks like these two are very special. The ranking list is probably going to change. A member of the experts looked at Curly Hair's file and used his rich experience to make a preliminary evaluation before speaking. This sea slug's evaluation won't be low either. However, it has extraterrestrial genes after all. This point gives it an advantage, but it also has a disadvantage. Pets with extraterrestrial genes would not be low because they were rare and people were curious. But they would definitely not be ridiculously high. This was a hidden rule in the industry. There were government restrictions to prevent commercial groups from hyping up extraterrestrial genes and causing big trouble. Therefore, even if they speculated that the commercial value was very high, they would still try their best to lower the price. Curly Hair has such a strong bite. Could it be that he has too much experience on the black streets and is showing signs of reverting to his ancestors? Someone laughed. What he meant was that this dog had reverted to the period of destruction. During the period of destruction, there were too many dogs that had a bite strength of over 400 or 500, and there were even dogs that had a bite strength of over 600. However, they did not keep dwelling on this. All they needed to do was to use sufficient data and information and analyze it from all sides to come up with a final evaluation. This Feng Zhao person, we also need to analyze him properly, another person said. What was a pet? Only when there were people could there be pets. In the end, it still depended on the owner. The people of Pet liked a saying from the old era, when a man achieves the Tao, his chickens and dogs ascend to heaven. The owner's background and identity, as well as the owner's values and methods of operation, would all affect the value of a pet. Now, Feng Zhao's value had risen, especially after the concert. Not only had his fame soared, but the copyright for his concert work had also been sold. Everyone had a new understanding of Feng Zhao as a person. Other than that, their evaluation would also depend on the pet's ability to make money. As a golden competition dog, Curly Hair's ability to make money was obvious to all. Therefore, Curly Hair's evaluation would definitely be higher than last year's. All right, I will give everyone 3 days to evaluate these two. We will publish them in the next issue. A week later, the new issue of Pet was out. There were many people who subscribed to Pet around the world. Some pet shops would also subscribe and display it on the big screens in their shops for their customers to see. Those who were scheming would display it on the big screens at the entrance of their shops to attract people to stop and take a look. Isn't that young man on the cover the one who was very popular on the internet some time ago? Many people who subscribed to the new issue of Pet realized that the person on the cover looked a little familiar. When they took a look at the name, they realized that it was true. That Feng Zhao from Yenzhou? Right, I remember now. That fellow who sold quite a lot of copyright for his concert. This dog is his. The dog on the cover is the one that won the most valuable competition dog in Muzhou's sheep herding competitions 2 years in a row. That rabbit is the legendary sea slug with extraterrestrial genes. On the cover of the new issue, Feng Zhao was wearing casual home clothes and sitting on the sofa by the window. A pair of diving earphones was casually hanging from his neck. Curly Hair was lying at the side, and on the table in front of him was a special water tank. Inside the tank was a pure white sea slug that looked like a rabbit. The home clothes and the sunlight shining in from the window formed a warm environment that made Feng Zhao's entire person appear much gentler. Curly Hair, who was in the pose, had restrained all his ferocity and was obediently looking at the camera. That pair of dog eyes looked pure and innocent. The long curly dog fur that had been combed had a slight metallic luster under the sunlight, giving it a noble air. The rabbit in the water tank looked like a ball of soft cotton floating in the water. It made people want to pinch it just by looking at it. The whole photo was quiet and lively. In Yan Biao's words, with the processing and packaging of the photographer and post-production personnel, even a random dog could become a noble. The people who subscribed to Pet were still paying attention to these two newly included pets. Looking at the cover, everyone thought, what two cute little pets. When they flipped to the next page and saw the files of these two pets, everyone thought, impossible. The files that were released were simple files. Only a portion of the most basic information was included. The rest of the bite strength test and toxicity test were not released. But in the remark section, the bold, super fierce was especially eye-catching. Super fierce? Looking at Curly Hair's picture and flipping back to this issue's cover, everyone understood. Haha. In the pet community, many times it has the same meaning as super cute. Just this dog. How can it be fierce? Even if it has a fierce temperament, it won't go hurting. Did the people at Pet make a mistake? In any case, I don't believe it. The people at Pet are definitely doing this on purpose. Then this rabbit sea slug's remarks are super fierce and high risk. What do they mean? But very quickly, everyone's attention shifted. Curly Hair is valued at 210 million. The sea slug Spiky Rabbit is valued at 80 million. Isn't this valuation too high? Pet's expert team gave a professional valuation, so there shouldn't be any overestimation. That extraterrestrial hybrid sea slug can be ignored. After all, it's the only one in the world. But why did Curly Hair's value rise again? Didn't they say it was more than 100 million? I thought Curly Hair's value would drop after leaving Muzhou. I never expected it to rise again. Humans are worse than dogs. Could it be because of Feng Zhao? No matter the reason, Pet's expert team must have their reasons for their valuation. The rankings have changed. At the mention of the rankings, people who subscribed to Pet hurriedly flipped to the last page. On it was the latest ranking of global pet valuations. It was different from the past. Curly Hair's value of 210 million had suddenly dropped to 5th place. This issue also told Curly Hair's story. From how Feng Zhao had picked him up from the Black Street to how he had joined Dongshan Farm to participate in a sheep herding competition, all of this was narrated by Feng Zhao. Then, with Pet's editorial team's artistic editing, the plot was full of ups and downs, enhancing the storytelling. Many people were amazed. He actually came from the Black Street. I used to think everyone was just joking. Feng Zhao's luck is too good. He picked him up for 200 million. Because it involved Feng Zhao, Yenzhou's media also got excited and vigorously reported. No matter what, Curly Hair was also a Yenzhou dog. Only one of the pets that had charged into the top 10 of Pet's overall value rankings was a Yenzhou citizen. Of course, they had to report it. Thus, in a certain period of time, the headlines were once again occupied by Feng Zhao. Although the main focus was only Feng Zhao's 2 pets, as the owner, Feng Zhao was still the focus of everyone's attention. Back in the Black Street where Feng Zhao had lived, many people had the same feeling every time they saw news about Curly Hair. How regretful. In the new era, even if the quality was not good or the color of the fur was not pleasing to the eye, as long as it was a large or miniature type, people would be willing to raise it. Only Curly Hair's shoulder height, which was just over 40 centimeters, was larger than the miniature type and was far from being a large dog. It was not even considered a medium-sized dog, so no one was willing to raise it. At that time, even if it was cleaned and raised, it could not be sold. At that time, many people had seen Feng Zhao pick up the dog and say behind his back, he can't even take care of himself, and he still wants to raise a dog. In the end, ever since Feng Zhao had left the Black Street, they had seen that stray dogs' value rise every year like a rocket. Last year, it had been worth over 100 million. This year, it had jumped to 210 million. It had directly squeezed into the top 5 of the global pet value rankings. For most people, this was simply a legendary figure. Furthermore, according to the analysis of a certain expert in the new issue of Pet, if Feng Zhao's status rose in the future, perhaps Curly Hair's value would continue to rise. In comparison, the sea slug's Spiky Rabbit's 80 million was much more low-key. However, it was still a topic of discussion among many people. The Spiky Rabbit's breeder, Denzel, who is currently in the polar regions of Planet Y and rearing prawns, saw this news and his vision darkened. He clutched his chest with a pained expression. When the assistant beside him saw this, he hurriedly asked, "What's wrong?" "I want to jump into the sea." Denzel was incomparably regretful. He beat his chest and stamped his feet. Why had he sold off such a precious rabbit back then? Denzel's expression changed. A few of his assistants looked at this boss nervously, afraid that he would take things too hard and really jump into the sea. "Do you guys think I should start a new project and continue breeding sea slugs?" Denzel asked. "You're also earning quite a lot from rearing prawns now." "Right, boss. We're doing quite well rearing prawns now." "Teacher, are you thinking of breeding the same kind of sea slugs that you sold to Feng Zhao?" "Let's not talk about how difficult it is to breed them. Putting aside all the technical problems that have yet to be solved, even if we can really breed them on a large scale, the policy on extraterrestrial pets is always changing. Now it's gradually relaxing the restrictions, but what if? If the policy tightens again in the future and we are stuck there, wouldn't we suffer a huge loss?" Denzel actually understood what his assistants were saying. Back then, he had given up on breeding sea slugs with extraterrestrial genes. 1. The technical difficulty was too high, the success rate was extremely low, and there were no results. Another reason was that the policy was stuck there. At that time, people other than researchers were not allowed to rear extraterrestrial pets, so it was difficult to sell them. Furthermore, just as his assistants had said, the environment on Planet Y was very good. His company also earned a lot of profits, so there was no need to take the risk and do other things. Regardless of whether other people researched it or not, he would not go and experiment. Although he felt uncomfortable when he saw this news, Denzel very quickly got over it. In any case, Feng Zhao had helped him pull some strings and obtained the breeding C-zone on Planet Y. Forget it, so be it. Let that little fellow take advantage of it. The entire editorial department was very happy with the increase in subscriptions for the new issue of Pet, except for Hua Caning. After a week of recuperation, Hua Caning's arm had not completely swollen, and it still hurt when he moved it. Today, when he came to the office, he enlarged the cover of the new issue, printed it out, and pasted it on the wall of his office. Then, he picked up a pen and wrote the word scary under Curly Hair's name and the word scary under Rabbit's name. Hua Caning wanted to constantly remind himself and his colleagues that these two pets really belonged to the dangerous category. You have to be careful if you encounter them. You definitely can't just look at appearances. When Hua Caning was about to put away his pen, his gaze lingered on the figure of Feng Zhao in the middle of the photo. You don't say. In this warm and cozy photo, Feng Zhao really did look like a harmless and gentle artistic youth. However, in this photo, there was actually danger lurking everywhere. Other than Curly Hair, that dog with a terrifying bite, and that extremely venomous sea slug that would sting people at the slightest disagreement, was this Feng Zhao really that harmless? Hua Caning hesitated as he thought about the information he had recently researched on Feng Zhao. How could a person who could rake in military merits on Planet Baiji, a terrorist, and even reach the rank of a reserve duty major be harmless? Chapter 283. When people outside were discussing Feng Zhao's two sky-high priced pets, Feng Zhao didn't pay much attention to them. Instead, he went to inquire about the revolutionary film project. But today, he had received a call early in the morning. A guest was coming. Joseph, the Interplanetary Fund's contact for the film project team, found Feng Zhao's residence in Yenzhou based on the address Feng Zhao had given him. Standing in front of the door, Joseph stared at the sign on the door that said, "There are ferocious beasts inside. Do not enter unless invited." He thought back to the pet news he had seen recently and wondered if the tone of the sign was serious or just a joke. After staring at it for a dozen seconds, Joseph still couldn't figure it out. He decided not to think about it anymore. After all, his focus today wasn't Feng Zhao's pets. Furthermore, he had already made a reservation in advance, so it wasn't a do not enter unless invited situation. He plastered a fitting smile on his face once again and pressed the doorbell. The door opened. "We meet again, Mr. Feng." Joseph still had the courtesy of an elite, but compared to the last time they had met, the arrogance in his heart had diminished significantly. Joseph had been dealt a blow at the outpost on Planet Baiji. After that, there had been the matter of the consultant team inviting him and the concert news. Now that he thought about his purpose for coming today, Joseph naturally didn't have too much of an arrogant attitude. Is this the little curly hair worth more than 200 million? Joseph sized up the curly-haired dog that had run out of the room and chuckled. How adorable! Although that was what he said, Joseph had no intention of approaching Curly Hair. Curly Hair stared at this stranger, but because Feng Zhao was here and he knew that this was just a guest, he naturally wouldn't show any obvious hostility. But deep down, besides Feng Zhao, Curly Hair was wary of every living creature that stepped into his territory. Although Curly Hair's eyes seemed innocent and friendly as he stared at Joseph, Joseph knew that a dog's eyes could lie. Their pupils were very large, giving people the misconception that they were harmless. It was very deceptive. Joseph also didn't like dogs. Thus, regardless of whether this dog was dangerous or not, he wouldn't get close to it. Thus, he only glanced at it twice and didn't pay it any further attention. Today, he was representing the Interplanetary Fund to extend an invitation to Feng Zhao. Although Feng Zhao's status in the professional music circles was rather low, his musical style was very suitable for the revolutionary film project that he had just started. The Founding Era music team has already been established. Our Interplanetary Fund is very optimistic about Mr. Feng's work, so we would like to invite you to join the Founding Era music team, Joseph said. Founding Era, which was also the name of the revolutionary film project that had been rebooted, had been extremely popular in the entertainment circles of various continents. In the new era, the Founding Era referred to the juncture between the period of destruction and the new era. In other words, it was the short period between the end of the period of destruction and the beginning of the new era. The main focus of this super project was to film the events from the middle and late period of destruction to the Founding Era. Because he was a member of the consultant team, Feng Zhao knew what kind of story was in the script. For the film project, Founding Era, the plot would include the conferment of generals. After the conferment of generals, it would be the new era. The reason the Interplanetary Fund thought highly of Feng Zhao and invited him to join the Founding Era film project's music team, other than the fact that his musical style was very suitable and that he had sufficient ability, was because Feng Zhao was a member of the project's consultant team. He would have a deeper understanding of the plot's direction, story details, and character analysis. Composing would definitely be easier and more appropriate. Feng Zhao naturally accepted this invitation. He was also very happy to receive this kind of invitation. "I will do my best," Feng Zhao replied. To be able to compose for such a film project, even if he did not have to pay, Feng Zhao would be willing. Feng Zhao had a deeper attachment to the stories and people of that period. Since Mr. Feng understands the plot, you can first compose a few pieces of music. When the time comes, perhaps some of them will be chosen, Joseph said. What he meant was, anyway, you have seen the script. If you have some inspiration, you can compose first. As for whether or not you will be chosen, that is not certain. Feng Zhao understood what he meant. This was similar to when Fiery Bird had first looked for people to compose music for their games. They would first collect some, but they might not necessarily use your stuff. After the invitation was sent and the contract was signed, Joseph's assignment was completed, and he left very quickly. He still had other matters to attend to. After Joseph left, Feng Zhao sat on the sofa and pondered. He would naturally grab hold of this opportunity, regardless of whether or not he would be able to use his work. As long as he had inspiration, he would compose. However, Feng Zhao was still pondering another matter. The actors for a few important roles in Founding Era had yet to be confirmed. There was a lot of groundless news, but there was very little that was of real value. Until the final moment when the contract was signed, anything could happen. Thus, as long as one had been in this industry for a long time, an experienced and cautious actor would not be impatient to reveal any progress. Otherwise, if they were not chosen or were squeezed out at the last moment, that would be a slap in the face. Up until now, of the main roles, only 2 had been confirmed. As for the others, all sorts of news was flying around, and it was hard to tell whether they were true or false. Perhaps they were using smokescreens, or perhaps they were hyping things up. However, looking at the situation, as well as the discussions among the consultants, the remaining main actors would most likely be decided by October. Technological innovation shortened the production cycle, but in order to ensure quality, the project was not in a hurry to start shooting after it was launched. This time, the selection of actors was especially strict. There were many candidates for each important role, and each candidate had a long trial period. Perhaps there was still no news now because the candidates were still in the trial period. After the trial period, there might be a result. He wanted to give the role of Feng Zhao a try, but unfortunately, there was simply no news of any auditions for the other important roles. The reason Feng Zhao wanted to participate was entirely because of the role of Feng Zhao, and this role was the same as the other Founding Era generals. The producers had simply not released any auditions, so even if he wanted to compete, he did not know where to go. However, this time, it all depended on one's own ability. On Silver Wing's side, the company's ability was limited, and each actor still had to rely on their own methods and abilities to fight. Looking at the summary of the past few months' worth of news, Feng Zhao's finger tapped on a name. If he wanted to get an opportunity, he could only make a move from this person. On August 18th, Fiery Bird's Yenzhou branch had an event. Feng Zhao had also contacted the people at the Yenzhou branch and found out that as a special guest, he would be giving out awards and would not just be there as a bystander. This time, the Yenzhou branch had organized a half-year awards program. Starting from Memorial Day in January and ending in July, The data from the past 6 months would be compiled into a half-year leaderboard. Awards would be given to the individuals or teams that had performed outstandingly in the past 6 months. Similar events were held in every continent to stimulate the enthusiasm of gamers. After all, a year was too long. Many amateur gamers and fans were impatient to wait. Zuoyu and Yanbiao were both dressed in solemn black. When they looked in the mirror, they felt that they had an awe-inspiring aura. Coupled with a pair of sunglasses, they looked especially like bodyguards. Why didn't I feel that I was this cool in the past? Yanbiao looked in the mirror. When he saw the surroundings of Fiery Bird's Yenzhou branch building, the smile on his face disappeared. In a flash, he became cold and hard, switching to bodyguard mode. This was the first time he had attended such an occasion since he had become a bodyguard. The previous concert did not count because he had entered the venue early to prepare and had not experienced the feeling of walking among the crowd of reporters and fans. The car stopped at Fiery Bird's temporary parking area. A path led from here to the venue. Today, Feng Zhao did not wear the same team uniform as the gaming team. Instead, he wore a set that Fiery Bird had specially customized for him. It had the dieting pattern, but there was still the polar light tree pattern on the chest area. Fiery Bird wanted him to drive this series. If the results were good, they might develop the dieting series in the future. The moment Feng Zhao got out of the car, there was an uproar from all around. There were too many people shouting, and when they mixed together, it became a roar. Although he had been prepared, Yanbiao was still startled by the noise. Didn't boss not play professionally anymore? Why were these people reacting like this? Yanbiao had not experienced that period, so he could not understand the crazy mentality of gamers. So you could understand a little. Up until now, among Battle of the Century gamers, professional and non-professional, the only one who could be called a god and stand firm was Feng Zhao. Although there was still debate on a global scale, in the hearts of the majority of Yenzhou gamers, Feng Zhao was a god-level player. Furthermore, the members of Silverwing 50 Polar Lights No. 1 team had publicly acknowledged that without Feng Zhao, they would not be where they were today. This way, Feng Zhao's status was once again elevated. Furthermore, with all the various things that had happened in the past 2 years, many gamers felt that the halo around Feng Zhao was even greater. Therefore, even though Feng Zhao was no longer in the professional gaming circles, there were still legends about him. There was also a live broadcast of this event online. The Silverwing 50 Polar Light team members who were on the road also saw Feng Zhao's appearance. Inside the team car arranged by Silverwing were both newcomers and veterans. Boss Feng has already arrived. So many people. This is my first time participating in this kind of event. I'm nervous. 2 newcomers who had just signed with Silverwing this year were chatting and sharing the mentality of newcomers who had just entered the professional circles. This is just a branch event. When you go to Fiery Bird's annual gala, won't your whole body be stiff? Schwarzer, who had already become a senior in the team, said. Hearing Schwarzer say this, the newcomers asked about previous Fiery Bird annual galas. Schwarzer was also talkative, acting like a senior as he started to give pointers to the newcomers. Beside him, Jake suddenly said, I heard that this time, Boss Feng has been invited to be a guest presenter. The atmosphere suddenly became heavy. Even Schwarzer went silent. In the past half year, it seems like we haven't won any major awards. Dorian continued to add insult to injury. Although the regional half-year awards could not compare to those awards at the headquarters annual gala, it was still an award. Within the Yenzhou region, its influence was not small. Just look at the number of fans outside the Fiery Bird branch building. But look at them this time. Newcomer award?
None.
Other types of individual awards? Probably none. There might be one group award, but it was almost gone. It was embarrassing to say it out loud. When the time comes for the award ceremony and Boss Feng sees that we don't have any awards on our side, will he flip out? Someone asked. He won't go that far, right? Schwarzer said without much confidence. Back then, they had been brought up by Feng Zhao and had even been imparted with a lot of experience.
But now?
It was like a master being invited to a large-scale event and realizing that among the people being praised, not a single one of his disciples was there. Wouldn't that be very embarrassing? Thinking of this, the enthusiasm that everyone had felt just now was gone. "Captain, what do we need to do?" a newcomer asks Yehi, who is sitting in front of him. Chapter 284. Before the event officially started, the people who arrived were just moving around the exhibition hall. Silverwing 50 Polar Light, also known as Silver Lights in the gaming circles, was usually rather flamboyant. Because of their young age and liveliness, their reputation in Yenzhou's professional esports circles had risen over the past 2 years. They received a lot of attention the moment they entered. Within the team, Jinro and the other veterans were already very familiar with the place and did not feel uncomfortable. The few newcomers, on the other hand, were gazing at the exhibits around them with glowing eyes. However, they still remembered what Jinro had told them. They might not be able to avoid being lectured, so they had to be obedient. There were also some lucky fans who had been selected by Fiery Bird, as well as non-professional gamers who had outstanding results in the past half a year, who had also received invitations. Their reactions were much more intense. They were busy looking at those commemorative old machines or new products that had yet to be released, and they were also busy looking for autographs from their idols. Yenzhou's various big teams were also here. The organizers had specially arranged a place for Feng Zhao to interact with fans, get autographs, take photos, and chat about gaming experiences. The Silverlight team did not go over. One reason was that there were too many people there, and the other was that they did not have the face to go over and were afraid of being lectured. In the past half a year, they had indeed slacked off. This was undeniable. One could see it just by looking at the data. After the Silverlight team entered the hall, not just the few newcomers, even the usually talkative Schwarzer became much quieter. On the other side, when the 2S Esports Club team entered the exhibition hall, they saw their old rivals, the Silverlight team. In an instant, they entered battle mode and waited for the Silverlight team to come and fight. But after waiting and waiting, the Silverlight team did not come. "The Silverlight team is not normal today," someone said.
Indeed.
The others also noticed this. Usually, when both sides met, the Silverlight team would start a fight. Today, when the Silverlight team saw them, they actually just gave them a glance and did not say anything else. Even when they initiated a provocation, they did not retaliate. So, obedient? They must be preparing for a big move. Not just one team thought this way. Other teams saw the situation over at Silverlight and had the same guess. They were all on guard against any big news from Silverlight and were mentally prepared. Furthermore, there were already people who reacted quickly and went to investigate to see if Silverlight was making any big moves in the dark. 2S's manager met a few of his old friends in the industry and chatted enthusiastically. He even mentioned a newcomer they had signed this year. Not far away, Silverwing Gaming Department Manager Wayne overheard the conversation. The smile on his face was a little forced. Back then, he had a great time poaching people. He had even spent a lot of money to snatch a few good seedlings from a few veteran esports clubs. He had drawn too much hatred. He had planned to restrain himself a little this year, and at the same time, reorganize the team and let the members of the first team work together. In the end, a better rookie had been signed by 2S. In the first half of the year, there was a newcomer who had just started college called Wilkinson. He was number 1 on the newcomer leaderboards for the first half of the year and was very likely to be Yenzhou's top rookie of the year. Wayne was filled with regret. He had wanted to sign Wilkinson for a long time, but he hesitated after thinking about it. This newcomer's maneuvering was too sharp. Wayne was thinking about which side would bring more benefits to the team, but in the end, 2S had snatched it away. Unlike Wayne's regret, 2S's manager was glowing. This year, he was ambitious. He was especially pleased with the strong rookie Wilkinson they had signed. Their team had also stolen the limelight this year. If there were no accidents, this year's Yenzhou top scorer would land in their club. The team manager had just finished showing off this year's strong rookie to others, but when he turned around, he was nowhere to be found. Where's Wilkinson?" the 2S manager asked. "Over there." A team member helplessly pointed to a certain part of the hall. The manager looked over, and the smile on his face immediately disappeared. The expressions of the other members of 2S's team did not look good either. In a moment of carelessness, they had discovered that their team's strong rookie this year, Wilkinson, had eagerly run over to Feng Zhao. "Wilkinson, come back here," the manager shouted. With so many people around, it was not appropriate for them to shout loudly. They could only suppress their voices and tell Wilkinson to hurry up and come back. They had clashed with the Silverlight members before, especially when it came to Feng Zhao. Thinking back on what they had said and done in the past, they could still retort against the other Silverlight members, but when it came to Feng Zhao, it was indescribably awkward. Wilkinson did not know how anxious his own team members were. Right now, he was very excited. He had seen his idol. But unfortunately, Wilkinson was still dragged back by his own team members. "What are you doing over there?" 2S's manager reprimanded in a low voice. "If you have the time, you might as well memorize the thank you script. Don't forget your lines when you go on stage at the award ceremony." Manager, who will be presenting the half-year newcomer award this time? Wilkinson asked. "No idea." Fiery Bird did not reveal anything. "I really hope it will be Feng Zhao presenting this award," Wilkinson said. "You shut up," the manager chided. On the other side, after interacting with the players and fans, Feng Zhao went to the resting area arranged by Fiery Bird to rest. When he entered, he saw someone he knew. Yenzhou's A-list actor, Silver Wing S-rank contractor He Lizi, was sitting on the sofa reading some gaming information. Seeing Feng Zhao enter, He Lizi revealed a smile and pointed to the seat beside him. "Little Feng, come over here. Let's have a chat." When He Lizi was young, he had also been a professional gamer for a period of time, but his focus had shifted. In order to have a greater breakthrough in the film and television industry, produce more outstanding works, and seize the opportunity to rush up, he had stopped participating in professional esports and only played occasionally. He Lizi was acquainted with some of the older members of Fiery Bird's Yenzhou branch, but as the years passed, his interactions with the gaming circles had lessened, and he had not participated in Fiery Bird's activities. Yet today, he was here. "Today, I was called over to be a guest presenter to present the award to the amateur team that made it into the rankings. However, Fiery Bird's people have not divulged this." He Lizi explained why he was here today, and also told Feng Zhao not to divulge any information before the official award ceremony. Actually, Feng Zhao had some guesses as to why He Lizi was here today. He Lizi was currently fighting for a rather important role in the film project, Founding Era. His competitors were also rather capable. Recently, he had been in contact with people from the Wu family, and his appearance here was also to pull in gamers in the gaming circles to increase his bargaining chips. The award ceremony was broadcast live. When the time came, He Lizi's team could operate invisibly and increase his popularity. Gamers were also a large group. Obtaining their support was also a competitive advantage. However, He Lizi would not just discuss matters regarding the film project with Feng Zhao. "Are you really not going to play professionally?" He Lizi asked. "Nope. I don't have time," Feng Zhao replied. "That's right. In your line of work, you have to accumulate experience. When will the next concert be held? You have to let me know when the time comes." "It's still early." Feng Zhao's "it's still early" sounded modest to He Lizi. He had already asked around through other channels. Feng Zhao still had other works in one of his notebooks. Although some had not been completed, he should be able to hold another concert in half a year to a year's time. If the copyrights had not been completely sold, he could still hold a few more concerts in other continents to promote his works. But since all the copyrights had been sold, there was no need to hold another concert in other continents. He might as well focus on preparing for the next one. He Lizi asked about Feng Zhao's next concert, but he did not say that he was going to attend. If he managed to snatch that role in Founding Era, he would definitely not attend Feng Zhao's concert. Although He Lizi was not in the music circles, he had friends who were, and had some understanding of this circle. Thus, he used the tone of an elder and told Feng Zhao, "Take advantage of the current situation. You are young and talented. Make the best use of your time to prepare for the next concert or to further your studies. Regardless of whether you choose to pursue an academic or administrative path or completely commercialize, you will not be able to avoid these two factors." As far as He Lizi was concerned, Fang Zhao was just a junior that he could befriend. He paid a little more attention to Fang Zhao, but that was all. Furthermore, He had more important matters to attend to, so he naturally did not pay much attention to Fang Zhao's matters. What He had just said was what others had told him when they had analyzed Fang Zhao. Fang Zhao chatted with He in the break room for a while before he received a notice to prepare to enter the venue. The award ceremony was about to begin. Oh, right. I forgot to ask. Little Fang, which award are you presenting? He asked before leaving. Newcomer award. The capable newcomer called Wilkinson, Fang Zhao replied. He nodded and did not say anything else. Following that, the award ceremony began. Awards were handed out one after another, starting from amateur gamers to professional esports athletes. When they saw Fang Zhao, the guest presenter of the Newcomer Award, stand up and go on stage, the faces of 2S esports club members turned green. As for Wilkinson, after recovering from his shock, he laughed excitedly. When the host saw this, he asked Wilkinson, very excited, "Yes. The person I admire the most is Fang Zhao." Because he was too excited, Wilkinson spoke especially loudly. He could not even pretend that he had not heard. Below the stage, people from other esports club members snickered. Some could not help but laugh out loud. They all knew that 2S and the Silverlight team could not stand each other and would start quarreling the moment they met. Now, on the stage of Fiery Bird's semi-annual award ceremony, the Yenzhou capable newcomer king that 2S had signed and highly recommended this year had said that his idol was Fang Zhao. Looking at Wilkinson's excited expression, it did not seem like he was faking it. This is fucking awkward. Looking at 2S's side, they did not have any good expressions. The smiles on their faces were also very stiff. Now, they could only rejoice that the cameras had not captured them. During the award ceremony, Fang Zhao's gaze swept over to where the Silverlight team was seated below the stage. The Silverlight team, which had been rejoicing in Fang Zhao's misfortune, all lowered their heads. Those who did not lower their heads maintained an obedient look. Boss, I did not laugh, really. Outside the venue, Zuiyu and Yan Biao had some time to rest. Zuiyu had gone to look for his comrade, who was a security guard at the Fiery Bird branch, to chat. Yan Biao looked at the security guards around him. He had originally wanted to find a few people to chat with, but he had not expected that after some interaction, he would discover that one of them had also served in Planet Baiji's military. It was just that they had not been in the same outpost area. Suddenly, he felt a sense of closeness as a comrade. Since there was nothing much to do, the two of them chatted to one side. After retiring from active duty, I was recommended to work here. It's relaxing, and I can spend more time with my family. I don't have to risk my life on missions, the veteran from Planet Baiji said.
Me too.
My injuries were too severe, so I could only retire. Recalling the reason for his retirement, Yan Biao also sighed. That person pointed to the colleagues who were patrolling at the side. Those few at the front of the aisle, they are similar to me, but they are not in the same military district as us. After retiring, they became security guards at Fiery Bird. Actually, thinking about it, the treatment here is pretty good. Usually, you just have to prevent fans from barging in, block off reporters, guard against fire and theft, and there are so many smart devices, so it is actually not tiring most of the time.
What about you?
Looking at your outfit, are you a bodyguard? Chapter 285. The old comrade who had served on Planet Baiji told Yan Biao, for today's event, you won't be able to return before 10. That late? Yan Biao checked the time. It was not even 8 p.m. Furthermore, the award ceremony had already been going on for some time and would probably be over soon. There are other arrangements, the comrade said. Sure enough, after the award ceremony ended, there were all sorts of interpersonal exchanges, cocktail parties, and the like. When the event ended, Fang Zhao was dragged along by Fiery Bird's people to talk about the follow-up plans for the dieting series of products. By the time everything ended, it was already past 10 p.m. There were already very few people outside Fiery Bird's Yenzhou branch building. There were reporters standing guard, but after the cocktail party, the participants would all leave via other passageways. Fang Zhao looked around and found out that the Silverlight team members had already boarded their vehicles and left, so he did not stay any longer. However, on his way to the parking lot, Fang Zhao bumped into Heelise again. Heelise had just bumped into an old friend and had a short chat with the other party. Seeing Heelise smile, which was much deeper than it had been during the day, Fang Zhao guessed that something good had happened. Today had been very successful for him. It was very likely that he had made some progress in vying for the role in the Founding Era film project. Otherwise, why would the normally restrained Heelise be smiling so brightly? Seeing Fang Zhao, Heelise waved his hand and called Fang Zhao over to say a few more words. Perhaps because he was in a good mood and had drunk a little, Heelise put on the airs of an elder when he saw a capable junior from the same company who posed no threat to him. Little Fang, uncle is going to say a few words to you. Don't dislike it. In this industry, the more popular you are, the more you have to be careful, calm, and prudent with your words and actions. Also, you probably have a team behind you. Don't throw everything to them.
Keep an eye on them.
Otherwise, if you come across some idiots, they might deal you a heavy blow. Just look at that person over at Liezhou. The person from Liezhou that Heelise was referring to was an A-list movie star over at Liezhou. Even if Fang Zhao had not seen it online, he had heard Ji Polin mention it. That day, Ji Polin had called to congratulate him on the sale of the copyright for his concert work. He had also complained about his recent high-intensity work. Although the pressure was great and he was very tired, Fang Zhao could tell that Ji Polin was still a little happy. He might have a chance to participate in the Founding Era film project. Although it was just a small role, it was still a very rare experience. From all aspects, it would be beneficial for Ji Polin's future development. Ji Polin did not mind the small role and the lack of screen time. He knew that given his current status in the industry, it was already very difficult for him to snag such a role. This was also the result of Silver Wing's previous historical dramas that had boosted its global popularity. Otherwise, it would have been difficult to even get a cameo. It was said that the walk-on roles in Founding Era were all professionals or outstanding students who had yet to graduate from film academies. There were so many film academies around the world, and only the best were selected. In this aspect, it was decided by the major investors. Therefore, even if it was a small role, it had to be cherished. In the past 2 months, the B-list and C-list celebrities had been trying their best to increase their popularity so that there would be news every day. The A-list celebrities were fighting hard, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. The A-list celebrities were all rushing for important roles. The level of the Founding Era film project was too high, so they had to be cautious in their actions. For this project, given their current status, they could be fired if they were not careful. The Liezhou A-list celebrity that Heelise had mentioned had originally been about to sign a contract and obtain a role, but he had not been able to control his mouth and had shown off during a live broadcast. He had been scolded by Zero. Actually, it was also because the team behind that celebrity was usually too ostentatious, so they had not felt that showing off during a live broadcast was inappropriate. However, it was this small matter that had blown up the recent big news in Liezhou's entertainment circles. Originally, Zero had been unhappy that he had not obtained a few roles in Founding Era and had not been satisfied with the walk-on role that his agent had arranged for him. When he had gone online and seen someone showing off, he had been unhappy. Zero now felt that it was beneath him to scold second- and third-rate celebrities, so he could trample on them as he pleased. However, Zero could not tolerate A-list celebrities. It's just a role that only has a 10-odd episode presence. Look at how proud you are, Zero said sourly. Actually, when Zero heard this, it was considered a rather mild way of speaking. Those with experience in Liezhou knew that when encountering this person and encountering such a situation, just treat it as a fart and ignore it. In any case, he would not care about it very soon. However, perhaps the studio of that A-list movie star had gotten a little too full of itself and had retorted with a few words, poking a hornet's nest. There were also some fans of the other party or people who took advantage of the situation to criticize Zero. If you can do it, why don't you do it? With your exaggerated acting skills, do you think you can enter Founding Era just to be a bystander? Wu Tianhao from Tongzhou, who is also from a prestigious family, can act in the scenes of great General Wu Tong when he was young, and Barbara from Lajou can act as a little princess. What about you, Zero? Let's not talk about the scenes of great General Renault's youth, middle age, and old age. Even the other roles that are slightly better than walk-on roles. Which one can you handle? Not even one. Tisk, just a piece of trash that relies on his family's glory to run amok. Zero's mentality was like this: you can say anything else about me, but you can't say I'm family trash. You actually dare to compare me to those two idiots, Wu Tianhao and Barbara? Infuriated. Intolerable. Thus, the battle began. Zero and the other party's fans tore each other apart. Over at Lizhou, the onlookers watched the spectacular performances unfold every day and were rather excited. When one side was weak, they would hurriedly step on it. When the other side's momentum weakened, they would return to kick it. Other companies were happy to see this. After all, one less actor to threaten their company meant one more opportunity. Even if the onlookers did not make a move, they had to make a move. According to the entertainment media in Lizhou, after the war of words escalated, the role that the movie star had been about to land was completely lost. According to a certain Lizhou entertainment media report, when the movie star found out that he had lost his role, he was so angry that he vomited blood and was admitted to the hospital. No one knew if this was true or how much was exaggerated. But no matter what, the role that was about to land had been lost because of this incident. Even if he did not vomit blood, he would suffer internal injuries. Over at Lizhou, the entertainment circle was on fire. Every day, the news was more exciting than TV dramas. Over at Yenzhou, many people would go online every day to see how the story was progressing and which side was winning the war of words. Thus, He Lizi was using the Lizhou incident to remind Feng Zhao to pay attention to his actions. Sensationalizing was fine, but he had to be cautious and thorough. There were many people waiting for an opportunity to drag him down. He Lizi had said this with good intentions. No matter how many other things were mixed in his good intentions, Feng Zhao accepted it. After expressing his thanks, Feng Zhao saw that He Lizi, who had been about to leave, had turned around. Oh, there's something else I almost forgot to remind you. Be careful of those entertainment reporters.
I think there are people sneaking in.
There should also be people lying in wait in this parking lot. Even if you are not in public, you still have to pay attention to your image. I noticed it too, Feng Zhao replied. That's good. Don't think that you can be careless just because you performed well during your military service. Some entertainment reporters are even harder to deal with than special forces soldiers. He Lizi did not say anything else. After returning to his own car, he got his driver to drive off. Time was still tight. Car after car left the parking lot. Boss, are we going back? Zhuyu asked. Feng Zhao entered the car and changed into a low-key outfit before coming out again. You guys go back first. Go straight home. I still have things to do. I don't need you to send me. At this time, it was already 11 p.m. The central district was still very bright. Qian City's nighttime was a different world. It was not cold and cheerless. However, such a bustling city's nighttime also had some hidden dangers, especially for celebrities. Many entertainment reporters and paparazzi caught some negative news about certain celebrities, but most of them were at night. Drunk driving, messy private lives, involvement in certain illegal activities, and indecent images were what entertainment reporters loved to photograph. If it had been any other celebrity's bodyguard, he or she would inevitably have said a few words to express his or her concern. What if there was a robbery? Qian City had also experienced a robbery and murder. Furthermore, Feng Zhao had gained a lot of exposure on the internet recently. With so much news, most people would recognize his face. Not mentioning robbery, being recognized in public was also a little troublesome. However, in this place, Zhuyu and Yan Biao only needed to obediently reply, "Yes, boss." After driving out of the Fiery Bird Branch's internal parking lot, Zhuyu asked Yan Biao, "What do you think boss is doing in this outfit? Is he going on a rendezvous?" How would I know? Yan Biao was also curious, but he also understood that this was a private matter. They could not pry. Forget it. Let's go home and sleep. In the car, on the internet radio station, a low and mellow voice sang, "Ah, salted fish, why are you so free?" Did you hear that? Yen Biao asked. What? A sound that pierces the heart. Zhuayu expressionlessly changed the channel. At the same time, at Fiery Bird's Yenzhou branch, a figure rapidly left the parking lot. An hour later, in an old residential building in Qian City, Wang Tai had a trace of a heavy breath. When he opened the door, there were already 2 people waiting inside. Master, aren't you a little too slow? We've been back for half an hour, yet you're only back now. Did something happen on the way? Of these 2 people, one was Wang Tai's new disciple, Xiaobo. He was also someone Wang Tai had met when he was serving his sentence in outer space. Wang Tai had even saved his life. Now that Xiaobo had returned from serving his sentence, he was hanging out with Wang Tai. The other was Wang Tai's adopted son, Fu Rui. One of the reasons Wang Tai was willing to accept Fu Rui as his adopted son was that Fu Rui's name sounded very auspicious. This child's ability and luck were not bad. Wang Tai also lacked helpers, so he had accepted him. Now that there was nothing else to investigate on Planet Y, Wang Tai had returned. These 2 had hung out with Wang Tai for a period of time and had borrowed the popularity of the founding Aerial film project to do a few jobs and taste the sweetness. Today, Wang Tai had not wanted to go to the Fiery Bird branch, but these 2, one was tailing Heelese, and the other was interested in esports. They wanted to join in the fun and broaden their horizons. Wang Tai was also worried about these 2 newbies, so he gritted his teeth and went. In the parking lot, when he saw Fang Zhao standing and talking with Heelese, Wang Tai stopped Xiaobo from continuing to tail Heelese and immediately made the decision to withdraw. The 3 of them had split up. Although the 2 did not know the reason, they still followed Wang Tai's instructions and hurried back. Master, you are just too nervous. I don't see anything special about that Fang Zhao. Don't be afraid of him. If you meet him, I will help you settle it. Xiaobo, who had served his sentence in outer space and had experienced real battlefields, did not understand Wang Tai's reaction. In other aspects, he still admired Wang Tai a lot, but he felt that Wang Tai had overreacted on the matter of Fang Zhao. Right, Godfather. We don't have to be afraid. Big Brother Bo can fight very well. He even took on 5 at the Black Street. Fu Rui chimed in. Wang Tai leaned back on the sofa and sighed. You guys are still too young and don't understand. In our line of work, although money comes quickly, there are also risks. As an experienced entertainment reporter and the cream of the crop, Wang Tai believed in his own judgment. Ever since he had left the Fiery Bird branch, he had been feeling ill at ease. His eyelids had been twitching, and he had a bad premonition. Xiaobo and Fu Rui were not in the mood to listen to what Xiaobo and Fu Rui said. He closed his eyes and pondered. When Xiaobo and Fu Rui saw Wang Tai like this, they did not bring up the matter again. Instead, they started discussing the few sums of money they had earned recently. The film project, Founding Era, had stimulated too many celebrities. Some people who were normally more restrained could not help but make more moves, giving them the opportunity. In the past week, they had already extorted 3 sums of money. Xiaobo looked at his own capital account and was delighted. He said to Wang Tai beside him, Master, you always say that this line of work is risky, but I feel that it is especially interesting and profitable. He loved to see those flustered and exasperated yet helpless looks. At this moment, the doorbell rang. Wang Tai opened his eyes abruptly. Usually, they did not have any visitors at this place. The 3 of them, who had just relaxed, immediately tensed up. Xiaobo pulled out his dagger and prepared to get up to open the door, but Wang Tai raised his hand to stop him. Fu Rui, go take a look first, Wang Tai said. Chapter 286. Wang Tai also saw the image on the screen and scratched his head in annoyance. After thinking for a while, he said, Open the door. Godfather, are you really going to open it? Should we check to see if there are other people around? Fu Rui was worried. No need, open the door. Wang Tai knew that if Fang Zhao really wanted to deal with him, he would not have waited until now and pressed the doorbell so gently. Fu Rui had no choice but to listen to Wang Tai. He opened the door and quickly retreated, afraid that he would be beaten. If it had been any other celebrity, he wouldn't have acted this way. But because he followed Wang Tai and knew that Wang Tai was afraid of Fang Zhao, Fu Rui was on his guard. Before this, Fu Rui had not paid much attention to Fang Zhao. He had thought that Fang Zhao was just so. He was not as impressive as the news had reported, nor was he as terrifying as Wang Tai had made him out to be. But now he had to reevaluate his judgment. Ever since they had started following Wang Tai as entertainment reporters to secretly film celebrities, they had always been the ones to stop the celebrities. This was the first time they had been stopped by a celebrity.
His mood was really complicated.
Fang Zhao walked in. His gaze lightly swept across Xiaobo and Fu Rui before landing on Wang Tai, who was leaning against the sofa. "I've been looking for you recently." The first thing Fang Zhao said when he entered the room made Wang Tai want to kneel. Wang Tai roared in his heart. "Why are you looking for me instead of your next concert?" Fu Rui and Xiaobo looked at Fang Zhao in astonishment and then looked at Wang Tai, as if it was inconceivable that Fang Zhao could recognize Wang Tai at first sight. Usually, if Wang Tai did not take the initiative to reveal his identity, it would be difficult for the two of them to recognize him. Today, Wang Tai was wearing a face he had never used before. His disguise was very good. However, Wang Tai was already used to being recognized by Fang Zhao and did not feel the slightest bit surprised. Seeing Fang Zhao walk into the house, Xiaobo's eyes flashed and a cold smile hung on his lips. His whole body was like a leopard that had been accumulating power for a long time as he pounced toward Fang Zhao. However, the dagger in Xiaobo's hand stopped an arm's length away from Fang Zhao. A gun was pointed at Xiaobo's forehead. The atmosphere in the room suddenly froze. Xiaobo had always thought that he was good at fighting, but no matter how good he was at fighting, he was not faster than the speed of a bullet. During this process, Fang Zhao did not even glance at Xiaobo. As soon as he entered, Fang Zhao knew that this newbie reporter was different from other entertainment reporters. He had experience, blood on his hands, and he was a little untamed. Therefore, if he wanted this reporter to know his place, he had to intimidate him right from the start. Just as Fang Zhao had thought, if it had been nice words, Xiaobo really wouldn't have been so apprehensive and might even have probed him a few more times. But now, Xiaobo already didn't dare make any other moves. Yes, both parties did not reveal any real killing intent. It was just the first time they met. However, Xiaobo did not know if it was because of the cold air from the air conditioner or if it was a psychological effect, but he felt that the lights in the room seemed to carry a terrifying chill. "I almost forgot that this person has the legal right to carry a gun." The top muscles on Wang Tai's cheeks twitched. Then, like a stiff rock that had finally melted, he smiled and said, "Xiaobo." Xiaobo glanced at Wang Tai. After receiving the signal from Wang Tai's eyes, he withdrew his dagger and retreated to the side. On the other side, Fang Zhao also kept his gun, walked over to a chair, and sat down. He was even calmer than the three house owners. Fu Rui, who was standing stiffly at the side, felt that the atmosphere needed to be livened up. He looked left and right, took out a plate of melon seeds from a cabinet, and placed it on the tea table in front of Fang Zhao. "Great God, do you want some melon seeds?" Hearing this form of address, one could tell that he was a gamer. Nowadays, only gaming fans would address Fang Zhao this way. Fu Rui loved to play games, but he didn't play them that deeply. He also didn't worship Fang Zhao. He just wanted to liven up the atmosphere and disperse the silent atmosphere in the room. After carrying the plate of melon seeds, Fu Rui brewed a cup of tea. "Great God, have some tea?" Fang Zhao smiled faintly. "Thank you." Fu Rui looked at Fang Zhao's face, which had become much warmer because of his smile, and thought to himself, if not for that situation, I would have thought that Fang Zhao would be easy to deal with. As for Wang Tai, he had already gone through all the recent deals in his mind and confirmed that he had not provoked Fang Zhao. Or perhaps some celebrity had asked Fang Zhao to plead for him. That would be troublesome. After all, as the paparazzi king of Yenzhou, he had to have some dignity, right? How could he let something he had gone through so much trouble go to waste? If he wanted to buy it back, that was fine. If he wanted to lower the price, that was fine too, but he couldn't go overboard. In that short moment, Wang Tai had already decided how he would respond in such a situation. No matter what he thought, he couldn't be weak. Otherwise, it would seem like he had a guilty conscience. Wang Tai had just decided that he couldn't be subdued by force when he heard Feng Zhao ask, "There's a business deal. Do you want to take it?" Wang Tai raised his eyebrows in astonishment. He hadn't expected that Feng Zhao would actually come looking for him to discuss business, and not to help some celebrity buy something to secretly photograph. However, Wang Tai didn't agree immediately. "Tell me." Nova Roman. Not long ago, the film project team for the founding era had confirmed that Nova Roman would be the project's lead director. At the same time, he also had the right to choose the actors. As a world-class director with both ability and background, Nova Roman wasn't afraid of offending A-list and super-list celebrities, but he didn't like to be disturbed. Thus, before the director team's name list was announced, Nova Roman had cleverly gone into hiding. In the news online, there were often people saying that they had seen the lead director of this phenomenal project, but it was either fabricated by certain people to attract attention, or it was a smokescreen set up by Nova Roman. His actual whereabouts were still unclear. This time, Wang Tai was really curious. "You are just a musician. What do you want information about him for? Don't tell me you really want to act? Or are you asking on behalf of someone from your company?" Feng Zhao didn't reply. Instead, he asked, "Do you accept?" This time, Wang Tai took a little longer to consider. Feng Zhao didn't disturb him and waited quietly. 2 minutes later, Wang Tai wrote down a number. Feng Zhao glanced at it.
Sure.
This time, Wang Tai was very straightforward. Except, his business didn't stop at Yenzhou, and his contacts weren't limited to just one continent. As long as it was within the entertainment circles, there was nothing he didn't want to investigate. All he needed to do was spend a little more effort. Furthermore, he had always been studying this lead director's movements, and he already had some leads. Wang Tai had originally planned to sell the information at a high price to some ambitious celebrities who were vying for a role after obtaining concrete information. However, since Feng Zhao had come looking for him and offered a straightforward price, Wang Tai agreed to sell the information to Feng Zhao. "How long will it take?" Feng Zhao asked. "If it's just his area of activity, I can give you a rough estimate right now. If it's a specific location, give me 2 days," Wang Tai replied. After Wang Tai told Feng Zhao the area where Director Roman was located, Feng Zhao transferred half of the money to the account Wang Tai had given him. The other half would be transferred after Wang Tai gave him the exact location. When deciding to fight for a role, Feng Zhao had thought of Wang Tai, Yenzhou's paparazzi king. In terms of familiarity with the entertainment circles and perception of the movements of people in the industry, Wang Tai indeed had the advantage. Feng Zhao also knew that Wang Tai had already returned to Yenzhou from Planet Y. It just so happened that Wang Tai had gone to the Fiery Bird branch today, so Feng Zhao had tracked him down. After obtaining satisfactory information, Feng Zhao left quickly, leaving time for Wang Tai and his team. After Feng Zhao left, the stiff smile on Wang Tai's face disappeared. His eyelids drooped slightly as he stared at a cup of cold tea on the coffee table. His fingers tapped the sides of the cup and watched the ripples within. Wang Tai's intuition told him that this time, he would probably get some big entertainment news. But should he follow up? When the time came, what should he do if he really managed to find out some information? Xiao Bo immediately checked his electronic account after Feng Zhao left. Previously, when Feng Zhao had been here, it had not been convenient for him to check. Now that he had confirmed it, he could not help but reveal a satisfied smile. Looking at the new amount in his account, Xiao Bo sighed. "Godfather, this is not a risk. This is an opportunity." Wang Tai gave him a sidelong glance. "What do you know?" Yes, master, whatever you say is right." Xiao Bo grinned, following which, his expression became serious. "Now I really know. Just like master said, It's better for us to keep our distance from people like Feng Zhao. To be able to follow them all the way here and even block their doorstep, this was not something anyone could do. Taking a deep breath, Wang Tai said, "This place can't be used anymore. We have to change locations." There was no sense of security here. He did not want to see Feng Zhao's face appear at his doorstep the moment he opened the door. Furthermore, what if Feng Zhao sold their address? They had so many enemies. The number of celebrities they had extorted money from could not be counted with 3 hands. What if someone found out about the address and took revenge on them? You could take on 5 at once, but could you take on 50 at once? Therefore, to be on the safe side, it was better to change locations. After all, these were all temporary residences. When it came to work, they might not be staying in the same place for a few days. There was no sense of belonging or nostalgia. A crafty rabbit had 3 burrows. They had plenty of places to stay. "Godfather, what were you thinking about just now? You look so conflicted," Fu Rui asked. Wang Tai scanned his surroundings and then waved at the two of them. Seeing Wang Tai like this, the two of them immediately checked the doors and windows. They even took out some equipment to scan the house to see if there were any other listening devices. After checking, they moved over to Wang Tai's side. "Master/Godfather, what are your instructions?" Wang Tai paused for a bit before saying, "Based on my many years of experience in the industry and my keen professional sense, I'm guessing that there might be big news about to appear. Right now, I'm hesitating. Should I dig up this news? If I dig it up, it might be dangerous." When Fu Rui and Xiao Bo heard this, they moved closer and asked in low voices, "How dangerous?" "The danger of Feng Zhao coming to our doorstep again," Wang Tai replied. Hiss. Fu Rui took a deep breath. He could still clearly remember the scene of Feng Zhao pointing a gun at Xiao Bo. Discussing business was not the same as digging up news. What if Feng Zhao really opened fire in a fit of rage? Xiao Bo nodded in agreement. "It is very dangerous. Having a gun pointed at your head was not a good experience." How rare was it? A dignified Yenzhou reporter and his elite team were actually worried about a celebrity knocking on their own door?
Then,
"Master, the big news you mentioned, how big is it? What level?" Xiao Bo asked again. "The level that will shock the entire entertainment circle." Hiss, the two of them gasped. "Do you guys think we should do this?" Wang Tai asked. Chapter 287. Just as many people had expected, Fiery Bird's Yenzhou branch's half-year event had ended. That night, quite a number of media outlets had come to watch the commotion. They had cut out the live broadcast of the Newcomer Awards ceremony and made it into a video with subtitles and special effects. "The person I admire the most is Feng Zhao." Wilkinson's voice was loud and clear. Also, the acceptance speech after that became a point of fun for everyone. The acceptance speech had actually been memorized by Wilkinson according to the script prepared for him by the company and spoken on stage. However, the guest presenter had been Feng Zhao. Wilkinson thanked the company, his teammates, his parents, and so on. After thanking him, he even thanked Feng Zhao emotionally. The 2S Esports Club staff choked. "What are you thanking him for? That wasn't in the script prepared for you." If words could be taken back, the 2S Esports Club manager would probably press Wilkinson's head down and force him to take them back. Unfortunately, he couldn't. During the live broadcast, the camera had indeed not been pointed at the 2S team. The live broadcast had also not shown their complicated expressions. Fiery Bird was not an entertainment newspaper and had to take into consideration 2S's image. After all, 2S was a veteran powerhouse, so they had to give them some face. Of course, the Fiery Bird staff also knew that even if they did not create a topic, the media reporters present would spread the news. This bunch of reporters was best at finding a spark and then setting it ablaze. Thus, Fiery Bird just had to maintain its style. The rest would be left to the professionals. Indeed, as they had expected, many reporters had seized this opportunity. The venue's cameras had not captured it, but these professionals had brought their equipment. Not only were the shots clear, but they had also captured it perfectly from all angles. Not only had they captured the scene of the award ceremony, but they had also captured the scene of Wilkinson asking for Feng Zhao's autograph at the reception after the award ceremony. All the footage had been captured from the live broadcast and edited into a news video. The number of views kept rising. Now, everyone in Yenzhou's gaming circles knew that this year's rookie from 2S, the rookie king of the half-year rankings and possibly the rookie king of the year, Wilkinson, was a verified fan of Feng Zhao. Haha, this year's rookies are really interesting. It's like I'm seeing the 2S manager's face as black as the bottom of a pot. Speaking of which, there are indeed quite a number of esports players who worship Feng Zhao, but only Wilkinson dares to say it under such circumstances. Someone, tell me more about the grudge between Silverlight and 2S. I've almost forgotten about it. Since Wilkinson is a fan of Feng Zhao, why didn't he join Silverwing? Why did he sign with 2S? It must have been intercepted by 2S. The current situation is really awkward. The people from Silverlight are probably laughing their heads off when they see this. In the 2S club, many people saw the news as well. Although Wilkinson's actions were sharp, he wasn't as smart as he looked when it came to dealing with people. It was as if all his EQ and IQ were spent on gaming, and he didn't even spend a tenth of his time on other aspects. In reality, some of the things he did were rather dumb. Otherwise, Wilkinson wouldn't have been so easily tricked by the people from 2S into signing a long-term contract. The contract had extremely strict rules regarding job hopping just to prevent Wilkinson from going to Silverwing in a moment of excitement. The 2S esports club manager had a headache when he saw the news online. But forget it. If others wanted to laugh, let them laugh. Silverlight wouldn't be able to gain any benefits. After all, Wilkinson's first choice had been Silverwing. It was the Silverwing gaming department manager who hadn't grasped the opportunity. No matter what, it was 2S that had dug up a gem. Indeed, Wilkinson's first choice had been Silverwing 50 Polarlight, but Wayne had considered the entire team and hesitated for a few days, and this sapling had been snatched away by 2S. This was why Wayne had a regretful expression every time he mentioned Wilkinson. However, while the people from other esports clubs and netizens were laughing at the joke, the people from Silverwing's Silverlight team, from the gaming department manager to the esports players, were not as happy as outsiders thought. On the contrary, the atmosphere was somewhat heavy. The morning after the event ended, Wayne went to his office. He had just sat down when he called Feng Zhao. Because it was too late yesterday, I didn't look for you. Regarding the team's current problems, I wanted to talk to you. The team had signed quite a number of people in the past 2 years. Although the team's results were alright, it was also the most successful Yenzhou comprehensive entertainment company that had invested in an esports team. It was something to be proud of. However, in the past year, some of the team members had neglected their training and had become slightly arrogant. Wayne alone was not enough of a deterrent in front of these team members. Previously, because Feng Zhao had been undergoing military service and was preparing for an important concert, Wayne hadn't gone to disturb him. Now the opportunity had finally come. Wayne spoke for half an hour in a row. To put it bluntly, all his words were, "This bunch of little fellows are asking for a beating." After he finished speaking, Wayne heard Feng Zhao say a few words.
Got it.
Although he had only gotten 3 words in half an hour, Wayne was still very satisfied. His terrible mood due to the Wilkinson incident had improved a lot. The employees of the gaming department were astonished to see Wayne's mood change in half an hour. Did something good happen to our manager just now? He seems to be in a good mood. But I just feel that his smile is a little scary. Silver Wing Tower, 50th floor. A few newcomers were looking at the online comments on yesterday's event video. Ha, Captain, look, those online comments are really funny. 2S's people looked like they were constipated. I reckon they are pissed off now, haha. Captain, what's up with you guys? The few newcomers had been laughing for a long time when they suddenly realized that the senior members of the team did not look happy at all. Even the usually forthright Milo was quietly looking out of the window. His eyes were unfocused, and there was a hint of sadness in them. Do you think we can escape? Jacques said coldly as he leaned back in his chair. Escape what? The newcomers did not understand. Ding! A notification popped up in the group chat. Jinro's facial muscles twitched as he opened the message. It's here. The team members opened the group chat and saw that alive after 500 years, who rarely spoke, had sent a message. A set of coordinates and a time. Nothing more was said. It was Feng Zhao's style. Vice Captain Dorian looked like he had a toothache. Schwarzer wailed. The senior members of the Silverlight team thought back to their past experiences. The newcomers were especially nervous because of the strange reactions of their seniors. Senior Schwarzer, why are you rubbing your chest? A newcomer asked. It hurts. My liver is trembling. Schwarzer seemed to recall some terrifying past. Senior Feng Zhao doesn't actually look that scary, a newcomer said. When the senior members of the Silverlight team heard this, they replied in unison, hee hee. That day, the members of the Silverlight team did not do any missions. Many people in the Silver Wing Tower noticed that the members of the gaming team, who had been rather energetic in the morning, were all listless in the afternoon. Even the few who were usually lively were rather quiet. Soon after, everyone realized that the members of the Silverlight team had suddenly become spirited. The arrogance they had developed over the past 2 years had been toned down, as if they had returned to when the team had just been established. Wayne was satisfied when he saw the team's current state of mind. Indeed, he still had to visit Feng Zhao every once in a while. This bunch of people still needed someone to whip them. On the other side, after Feng Zhao went offline, he let Curly Hair play with the gaming helmet. Because the 10th generation console had been moved to the company, Fiery Bird's gaming helmet was used in the residence. Curly Hair was usually the one playing. Not long after leaving the gaming room, Feng Zhao received a message from Wang Tai. Wang Tai had said to give him results in 2 days, but in less than a day, Feng Zhao had already found him. After noting down Nova Roman's detailed address, Feng Zhao contacted Zui Yu and Yan Biao. Pack your things. We're going on a long trip tomorrow. Going on a long trip meant that they might have to stay outside for a relatively long period of time. Boss, where are we going? Zui Yu asked. Tizancia. Tizancia was the name of a small island that belonged to Mayor Zhao. The next day, Zui Yu and Yan Biao each brought a suitcase over. Boss, we have already applied for a flying transport from the company. We can set off at any time, Zui Yu said. Seeing Curly Hair running back and forth, Yan Biao asked, are we bringing Curly Hair this time? Bringing him out for a run, Feng Zhao said. Curly Hair needed some exercise. Since returning, Curly Hair had spent most of his time gaming. That wasn't good. As he spoke, Feng Zhao received a call and turned to enter the study. Seeing Feng Zhao return to the study to answer the call, Zui Yu excitedly told Yan Biao, Tizancia? That place is a great vacation spot. I have never been there before. We are bodyguards. We have to fulfill our duties. We can't be greedy for pleasure. Yan Biao said righteously. The advantage of being Feng Zhao's bodyguard is that we can go anywhere. In my first year as his bodyguard, I went to all 12 continents. What for? Probably to find inspiration. At that time, Boss accepted the task of composing Fiery Bird's game music. I followed him to every continent's cemetery for martyrs. But after that, we would make a trip to each continent's cemetery for martyrs every year. You will do the same, Zui Yu said. Then why is Boss going to Tizancia this time? Yan Biao asked. How would I know? Just go wherever Boss points. Don't ask questions. Besides, based on my experience, the two of us going to Tizancia this time probably won't have much of an opportunity. Why? What do you think our mission is going to Tizancia? Yan Biao was at a loss. What do you mean? Zui Yu pointed at the excited Curly Hair. To walk the dog. At the same time, at Silver Wing Tower, Duan Qianji had a vacation application open in her email. It was from Feng Zhao. Vacation? What did uncertain return date mean? If it was because he had been too tired from preparing for the concert, going out to relax was fine, but this uncertain return date was a little tricky. If it was because he wanted to prepare for the next concert and seek inspiration, it was understandable. Whether it was a vacation or a preparation for the next concert, Duan Qianji would surely approve it. But she was puzzled. When she called to ask, Fang Zhao had only said he was going to Tizanxia. Tizanxia was a tourist destination. Many people like to go there for vacation. At first glance, it didn't sound special. But Duan Qianji felt uneasy. Because every time Fang Zhao took a vacation, he would always stir up trouble. The magnitude of the matter was directly proportional to the length of the vacation. So this time, what was Fang Zhao up to? After pondering for a while, Duan Qianji asked the secretary beside her, "Is there any big news recently that I don't know about?" As Duan Qianji's secretary, she was very clear about the standards of what Duan Qianji meant by big news. Thus, when asked, she replied calmly, "All the big news recently has been sorted out and sent to you. That's it. So far, that's it." Duan Qianji still felt uneasy after receiving such a reply. Chapter 288. Tizanxia was a naturally formed island during the period of destruction. It wasn't big, but the scenery was beautiful. It was one of the most famous tourist destinations in the world, but it was expensive. Walking around Tizanxia, one could see many famous people from the sports world, film and television circles, and business elites from various continents. Here, if you saw a celebrity on the street, someone might be slightly astonished or say calmly, "Hey, isn't that someone?" Then there was nothing else. Of course, putting aside the celebrity factor, there were three things that were famous on Tizanxia Island. The three words in its name were tea, sand, and sea. All the tea leaves provided by the hotel here were locally produced in Tizanxia. There was a classical hourglass in the room made of local sand, which was more dazzling than the sand from other places. The sea view was beautiful too, so Yu sat by the window and enjoyed his tea. He then poured a bowl of dog food into Curly Hair's plate. Not long after, Yan Biao returned from the gym. "I saw quite a few celebrities in the gym. Our boss really isn't much here," Yan Biao said. Fang Zhao's status indeed wouldn't cause much of a commotion here. Furthermore, the people of Tizanxia had long been immune to celebrities. At most, when they saw their favorite idols, they would go over for a chat or a photo. They wouldn't do anything crazy. Furthermore, the police here were well equipped, which reduced the number of bodyguards. They had been here for 3 days. Besides walking the dog, they had nothing else to do. It was just as they had expected. It seemed like they were really here to walk the dog. Fang Zhao would go out every day, but he wouldn't bring Zuiyu and Yan Biao along. The two of them had no complaints, because on the first day, Fang Zhao really did bring them out. He didn't say much, just let the two of them follow him. 5 hours later, they lost track of him. At first, it seemed like Fang Zhao was just taking a stroll, but then he seemed to see someone, and in the blink of an eye, the two of them realized they had lost track of him. Shameless. Now that Fang Zhao wasn't bringing them along, they were too embarrassed to say anything. Walking the dog, so be it. In the afternoon, Fang Zhao returned. In the 3 days he had been here, he had been keeping tabs on Director Nova Roman's movements and Roman's recent emotional state. The information Wang Tai had given him had even confirmed the hotel's location and room number. Finding him was very simple. Taking a step back, even if he was certain that the Roman was on this island, Fang Zhao still had ways of finding him. Furthermore, Wang Tai was especially proactive on this matter. It was as if he was afraid that Fang Zhao wouldn't be able to find him. Every day, he would send Fang Zhao a new notification. The reason Wang Tai was so proactive was that he was a dedicated entertainment reporter. However, Fang Zhao knew the real reason for his actions. Fang Zhao told Zuiyu and Yan Biao, "Tomorrow, which one of you will follow me out for 4 days and 3 nights?" Hearing that there was a mission, the two of them perked up. However, only one person could go, so it was still very competitive. "Where to?" Yan Biao asked. Only after he understood the nature of the mission could he decide who was more suitable. "Tizanxia Cruise Ship Number 9, Fang Zhao replied. "I'm familiar with the cruise." "I'll go," Zuiyu said hurriedly. Yan Biao really did not understand these things as well as Zuiyu. He had lived on planet Baiji's outpost for too long, so he was not familiar with cruises and whatnot. However, it was precisely because he did not understand that he wanted to go even more. It's your turn to walk the dog tomorrow, Yan Biao reminded Zuiyu. You take over for now. Not taking over. Seeing that Yan Biao and Zuiyu had not come to a decision, Fang Zhao said, I'll give you 10 seconds to decide. Hearing that there were only 10 seconds, Zuiyu glanced at Yan Biao. Let's decide. The so-called decide was rock, paper, scissors, and it was best of 3. It seemed like these two had used this method many times. The next day, Fang Zhao left with Zuiyu, who had won in rock, paper, scissors and boarded Tizanxia cruise ship number 9. Yan Biao stayed at the hotel and was in charge of walking the dog. Fang Zhao had decided to go on the cruise because he had found out that Director Nova Roman was on the ship and would be auctioning off a piece of emerald. Fang Zhao had already shown Zuiyu Director Roman's information, so Zuiyu knew his own mission. Fang Zhao did not need Zuiyu to tag along, but if he saw Director Roman anywhere, Zuiyu would quickly inform Fang Zhao. Fang Zhao did not keep a close eye on Zuiyu. Zuiyu could totally have fun the moment he boarded the ship. There were many entertainment options on the cruise. However, Zuiyu felt that he was very professional. After understanding the various places on the cruise, he had arranged a search plan and informed Fang Zhao, proving that he was not going to use this opportunity to enjoy himself. As for why Fang Zhao was looking for Director Roman, Zuiyu did not ask. All he needed to do was carry out the mission. The golden beach gradually faded into the distance. Ahead was the azure sea, and there were many excited tourists on the deck shouting loudly. Fang Zhao gazed at the distant island and pondered where Roman would most likely appear. Although he had received news that Roman had returned to the auction, Fang Zhao felt that Roman might not be there. The auction would indeed be auctioning off Roman's items, but Roman might not be there. Thus, Fang Zhao brought an extra person with him and told Zuiyu to walk around and inform him if he saw Roman. The cruise was very big, and the chances of encountering him were very low. If Roman deliberately hid himself, then it would be basically impossible to find him. Fang Zhao could only wait for him after returning to the island. However, he still had to try. There were quite a few people who had the same idea as Fang Zhao. They had probably also heard the news and had sent people to keep an eye on the theater, casino, and other places on the cruise. However, for the time being, no one had seen Director Roman. At this moment, in a certain high-class duplex suite on Tizanxia cruise ship number 9, a white-haired man dressed in low-key pajamas, who looked like an old man, was frowning as he stared at a few documents displayed on the screen. At this moment, a middle-aged man in a casual shirt walked over. Arnold, I just came from the auction venue. There are at least 10 people looking for you. Mei Chen, the person staring at the screen, only responded, not shifting his gaze away from the screen. The person sitting on the sofa and staring at the screen was Director Nova Roman, who many actors and reporters were looking for. However, Director Roman was only 99 years old this year. According to the lifespan of people in the new era, he could not be considered old. Furthermore, Director Roman loved to exercise, so he should be very healthy and energetic. However, in order to avoid being noticed, Roman had made himself look much older. This way, even if he went out, it would not be easy for people to notice him. On this trip, he had changed his hairstyle and dyed his hair a lot whiter. Only people who were close and familiar with him would directly address him as Nova or Arnold. Nowadays, many people were sensitive to the words Nova and Roman, so his friends would often refer to him as Arnold. The person who had come curiously glanced at the information on the screen and asked Roman, "Are these the newly recommended actors? A few of the main roles have not been decided yet? Hey, who is this little fella?" There were several screens in front of him, and each screen had a different person. Some were images, some were photographs. However, what caught people's attention was one of the screens. The image displayed on it was of a very young person, while the people on the other screens were more mature and older. Two of them were even about the same age as Roman. Roman glanced at the screen the other person was pointing at and said, "His name is Fang Zhao." Fang Zhao. I remember that the historical character you have been researching the most during this period of time also had this name. That's right, the same name and surname. The character Roman had been researching the most during this period of time was the character Feng Zhao. Although this person was not one of the great generals of the founding era, he had left a mark in real history that did not lose out to any of the great generals. According to real history, his presence was definitely more prominent than Wu Yan's, but in the film project Founding Era, the story of Yanzhou would definitely be narrated from Wu Yan's point of view. After all, Wu Yan was the true great general of the Founding Era. Feng Zhao's contribution was mainly in recovering the lost territories, but there was no need to doubt Wu Yan's ability and contributions. At that time, the one who had gained Feng Zhao's trust, who had been able to take over the burden from Feng Zhao, and who had ultimately led the people of Yanzhou to rebuild their homeland, was Wu Yan. The first time Roman had looked through the historical information, he had felt that it was a pity. In history, Feng Zhao had really been too unlucky. His life had been too short. Even if he was not the main character, the character of Feng Zhao in the Yanzhou chapter of this film project was an important supporting role that could not be overlooked. Hearing Roman mention this, the person suddenly remembered. Back when we were doing online research, didn't many people vote for him? The one who said, "Let Feng Zhao act Feng Zhao." Yes, that's him. Then let him give it a try. After the person had said this casually, he noticed that Roman had a pensive look on his face and hurriedly corrected himself. Hey, don't take it seriously. I was just joking. This project cannot be sloppy or casual. Just follow your own standards and requirements. Don't listen to me. Roman shook his head. I'm not saying he can't do it. Actually, at the start, I still thought very highly of him. Back then, when netizens had joked about voting, many people had voted, let Feng Zhao act Feng Zhao. Roman had even said, that's a good idea. However, normally, Roman liked to joke online and had said similar things. Therefore, in the eyes of everyone, this was just one of Roman's many jokes. Normally, Roman was still very active online. It was just that after taking on the heavy responsibility of being the project's executive director, he had stopped appearing online. So now, no one knew what he was thinking. Think highly of him? This fellow isn't an actor, right? I've never heard of him winning any awards, the person said. Putting all that aside, I'm very satisfied with his aura, temperament, skills, and other aspects. Regarding the historical figure Feng Zhao, Roman had read scripts, read historical materials, read character analyses, and had also watched actual historical footage from confidential files. The more he watched, the clearer the image in his mind became. However, perhaps because he had watched Project Starlight Channel S5, Roman had watched too many videos of the minor celebrity Feng Zhao. When Roman opened and closed his eyes, the image of the historical figure Feng Zhao in his mind gradually overlapped with the footage from Project Starlight Channel S5. Regarding historical figures, 1,000 people had 1,000 opinions, but in Roman's mind, the image of that minor celebrity had gradually deepened. Because of this, Roman had sighed in a certain director's group chat. My brain must have been poisoned. It was unknown who had spread this message, but it had led to many misunderstandings. This was why there had been rumors that director Roman had been poisoned and was recuperating in a certain hospital. There were even rumors that he was critically ill. Roman had also only known that his life was in danger after watching the news. The person swirled his wine glass and looked at the person on the screen who was clearly much younger than the other actors and said, no matter what, you can't really let him act. Roman sighed softly. I really thought about it. The person's wrist shook, and quite a bit of wine spilled out of his glass. He casually wiped it and asked, you must be joking. The showbiz world has declined? There's no one to act? Why do you have this kind of thought? Roman shook his head and did not explain. After a moment of silence, he only said, it's a pity that Feng Zhao is too young. The other actors in the lead and supporting roles were all somewhat older. They had at least 20 to 30 years of acting experience. If there were any mistakes during filming, they could point it out and they could quickly make adjustments. But Feng Zhao was too young and was still an outsider. If there were any mistakes during filming, or if he could not adapt to the cast and crew, he might need more time to make adjustments. Furthermore, at his age, He could not handle the second half of his character's life. If not for this, Roman really wanted to contact Feng Zhao for an audition. Seeing that Roman really was not joking, the person hurriedly said, "Don't mess around. This project cannot be randomly tested. If you choose the wrong actor, it could affect the quality of the entire film project. When that happens, a world-renowned director like you might fall from your pedestal. If you really want to use a newcomer, this is not the time. If you really feel that there is no satisfactory actor, you can create a virtual one, like a virtual idol. That would be more convenient." The latter suggestion was rejected by Roman. This kind of matter that involves the leaders of the period of destruction is too sensitive. We can't use the virtual idol method. Furthermore, when the project was rebooted, it was stipulated that there would be no virtual idols, only real actors. Then you take your time choosing. "I'm going out for some fresh air." "Oh, right. Are you really not going to attend the auction tonight?" "Not going." The only person who would appear at the auction would be someone with a similar build and profile to Roman. Roman had no intention of attending. He just wanted to use this cruise to change his working environment. Perhaps he could gain more insights. The person took a few steps toward the door and turned back worriedly. Pointing at Feng Zhao's image on one of the screens, he exhorted Roman, "You must not be impulsive. Don't find this kind of especially tender and fresh meat from outside the circle to act. There are so many people all over the world watching." I know. I just want to seek inspiration from this little fella." Roman impatiently waved his hand to chase the person away. He needed a quiet environment to carefully think things over. When the room became quiet again, Roman added a few more screens and played all the audition videos of the actors he had selected. These people acted very well. They were all outstanding actors, worthy of their status. But when placed in the role of Feng Zhao, Roman always felt that something was missing. It was different from the Feng Zhao in his heart. Chapter 289. In the new era, following technological innovation, transportation methods were rapidly upgraded. Many old tools were being phased out, but the cruise ship still existed as a type of nostalgia and vacation product. Night fell, and the sun gradually disappeared from where the sea and the sky met. Tizansia Cruise Ship No. 9 was like a miniature city-state sailing on the sea. Sports, shopping, leisure, and entertainment were all available. Tourists could enjoy their vacation time to the fullest. Even after the sun had completely disappeared, the cruise ship was still brightly lit, sparkling even more in the dark night. At the end of the cruise ship, an open-air theater was currently performing a song and dance performance. Feng Zhao stood at a high vantage point and scanned the area. He did not see any sign of Nova Roman. Feng Zhao had originally planned to take a look around before leaving, but the auction was about to start. Here, Feng Zhao saw a few movie stars. The competition was very intense. Perhaps they were all aiming for director Roman. They all thought that since Roman had taken out items to auction, he might also be here. However, just as Feng Zhao was about to leave the open-air theater, the large screen at the side indicated that a tourist would be performing here. Every performance in the theater had been scheduled long ago. The program list was hung on the large screen at the side of the theater. But if a tourist wanted to perform midway, after going through a vetting process, as long as they had sufficient qualifications, they could cut the queue and go on stage at any time. Fei Harmonic. Feng Zhao was a little astonished. He had not expected to meet this genius musician here. This person was from Jizhou. In the past, Feng Zhao had only seen news about him online. Most of the news that appeared in the push notifications were entertainment gossip. For example, this talented performer's rumored girlfriend this year, or which celebrities he was intimate with, and so on. Disregarding his private life, Fei Harmonic was indeed talented when it came to performing. Many seniors recognized him. When Feng Zhao had held his first solo performance in August, among the few seniors that Xuejing had brought along was an old man who really liked the violin. During their conversations, this junior Fei Harmonic had been mentioned many times, praising him. As long as his private life was not too excessive, they still valued talent more. Harmonic had become famous at a young age. He was one of those seniors who often mentioned him. He had held his first professional performance in his teens. He had held his first high-level concert in middle school. It had been almost 30 years since then, and his status in the industry had been rising year by year. He had also been invited to participate in the music composition for the Founding Era film project. There were many outstanding young musicians, so when Feng Zhao saw Fei Harmonic's name, he stopped in his tracks. This was the first time he was listening to this talented performer that had been praised so much by his seniors. Fei Harmonic's shoulder-length hair, dyed red, seemed to be his signature feature. Normally, he behaved like a noble gentleman from the old era, but once he started playing, he would go crazy with passion. The charm of the violin made many people unable to resist. Some people liked to use it as an emotional weapon to convey delicate feelings, but there were also people who liked its sharp side. Although the accompaniment at this time was not as luxurious as during the official performance, the fast-paced music that fused classical and rock was performed at a dizzying speed and precision. The enthusiastic atmosphere spread out, and the bowstring carried a sense of flamboyance. The music attacked like a storm, not giving the audience any time to breathe. At one point, some people were even worried that the bowstring would suddenly break. The vibration of the strings represented the surging emotions in the heart of the performer. Even a layman would find it cool, as if the whole stage was about to be set ablaze. This was the unconventional battle style of a cultured performer. It could be said that the majority of people who saw Fei Harmonic's performance would be full of praise, except Liezhou people. Every time Liezhou people saw Harmonic's performance, their thoughts would involuntarily jump. Because Liezhou had produced Zero. When Zero had been a second-year middle schooler, he had already been very famous in Liezhou. Because of his loose tongue and illustrious family background, the number of people following him on social media exceeded 10 million. Zero had been an internet celebrity since he was young. The people of Liezhou were all too familiar with him. It could be said that celebrities outside of Liezhou, even the so-called world-renowned superstars, were far less famous in Liezhou than Zero. Even though Fei Harmonic had already been famous for many years and frequently appeared in entertainment and fashion magazines all over the world, he did not have much influence on the people of Liezhou. One time, when Zero saw Fei Harmonic's performance, he posted a status on his social media platform, "Nice sawing, but I have a question. How did he manage to swing his head while playing so crazily without sawing his hair? If there had been someone standing beside him, wouldn't he have been flung in the face?" Fei Harmonic's signature shoulder-length hair had indeed puzzled many people. It was not that it was impossible, but many long-haired performers would tie their hair up during a performance, but Fei Harmonic did not. He preferred this kind of unbridled feeling. Thus, Zero's entire performance was focused on studying the problem of how to play the violin safely while in a crazed state. As a result, the Liezhou people who paid attention to Zero's movements were led astray. Actually, quite a number of people had had this question in the beginning, but no one had asked it directly. Even if there had been people who had asked because of their lack of influence, not many people had agreed. But Zero had lit the fuse and ignited this topic. If it had been anyone else, Fei Harmonic would have probably taught them a lesson, but it just had to be Liezhou's Renault family Zero. A shit stirrer. What else could he do? After that, Fei Harmonic had blacklisted Zero, and he had never performed in Liezhou again. After all these years, Fei Harmonic was still that long-haired, bearded, and handsome man who was sought after by the music, entertainment, and fashion circles. In the eyes of many female fans, Zero, on the other hand, had risen to another level. If Zero had been here, he would probably have started expressing his thoughts. When the performance ended, the audience erupted into enthusiastic applause and cheers. "Fei Fei! Fei Fei! Fei Fei! Look over here! Fei Fei, one more song!" Fei Harmonic's fans liked to affectionately call him Fei Fei. It was easy to remember and seemed intimate. After his performance, Fei Harmonic smiled and waved to the crowd. When he walked off the stage, he was immediately surrounded by pretty girls with hot bodies. As he left the theater, Harmonic's gaze swept over Feng Zhao. Clearly, he had recognized Feng Zhao. He paused for a moment, but he quickly shifted his gaze, so the people around him had no idea who he had been looking at. Fei, did you see someone you know? Someone asked. Not familiar. Just a passerby, Harmonic replied nonchalantly. There had been a period of time when there had been a lot of news reports about Feng Zhao. Although people seemed forgetful under the onslaught of information, Harmonic had heard his teacher mention Feng Zhao, a rising star, not too long ago, so he naturally recognized Feng Zhao. But Feng Zhao's status wasn't enough for him to go over and greet him. From his point of view, Feng Zhao was just a passerby he had met during his travels and was no different from other tourists. Feng Zhao glanced at the program list at the side of the theater. For the time being, there weren't any tourists going up to perform, so he didn't continue standing there. He turned and walked over to the nearest restaurant, intending to have a meal before heading straight to the auction venue. Just as he was about to enter the restaurant, the doors opened and a person walked out. When Feng Zhao saw who it was, he froze on the spot. The person who walked out of the restaurant was nearing middle age. Perhaps his life hadn't been smooth in the past, and he seemed to have experienced the vicissitudes of life. However, with the exquisite gown and the influence of his personal mental state, his high-spirited and vigorous spirit suppressed the vicissitudes of life. Of course, what attracted Feng Zhao wasn't the other party's clothes, but that face. That face was almost exactly the same as Feng Zhao's from his previous life. Feng Zhao's current body only had a 70% similarity to his previous life's face, but the person in front of him was already more than 90%. If he put on some makeup, he would look exactly the same as Feng Zhao's from his previous life. The other party was flabbergasted when he saw Feng Zhao's gaze land on him. His gaze flickered with suspicion, understanding, and then he said confidently, "You are also here for the role." Wan Shuang was an actor from Jinzhou. Although he had been on the acting path for decades, he was still not famous. His acting skills were decent, but they weren't top-notch. His looks weren't outstanding either, and even after decades, he was still a small nobody. Luckily, his management company hadn't given up on a cheap actor like him. After decades of grinding, Wan Shuang had also given up on his magnificent star dreams and was living off the company's subsistence allowance. Wan Shuang knew that he looked like a leader from Yenzhou's period of destruction, but the historical dramas of that period were very strict and no one dared to film such a theme. Especially when it involved real historical leaders, the censorship was even stricter. Just as other people in the company said when discussing Wan Shuang in private, "What's the use of looking like him?" But who could have expected that with the reboot of the Founding Era film project, Wan Shuang, this transparent actor, would finally be fished up by the company. Furthermore, he would be a key development actor. Now that Wan Shuang was being groomed by the company with a lot of money, the company's first goal was to fight for the role of Feng Zhao in Founding Era. Given Wan Shuang's influence and status in the industry, it would be very difficult to snatch this role, but how would one know if they didn't try? Even if they couldn't snatch this role, what about a stunt double? As long as he could sneak into the cast of Founding Era, it would be a gargantuan opportunity. Taking another step back, even if he couldn't snatch the role of a stunt double, the start of the Founding Era film project meant that the restrictions on real historical leaders from the period of destruction had been loosened. The policies had changed. In the future, there would be even more related dramas or movies, and Wan Shuang's face would be able to display great value. A special actor. Was this something that just anyone could do? This was also the reason why Wan Shuang's current mental state was completely different from before. His value had risen. Seeing that Feng Zhao was still looking at him, or more accurately, at his face, Wan Shuang felt rather pleased. Although this face of his could not be compared to some popular stars in terms of looks, who asked him to look like a martyr. Purely natural, without any surgery, without wearing a mask, this is what I look like. Envious, right? Jealous? Back when the online polls had been conducted, Wan Shuang had not been among the candidates for the role of Feng Zhao. However, That online poll had only been spontaneous entertainment by netizens and didn't count for much. Just like the topic of let Feng Zhao act as Feng Zhao. Back then, Feng Zhao's votes had been high, but how many of the people who had voted had really felt that Feng Zhao could act? It was just a pastime. Wan Shuang could not help but compare himself with the Feng Zhao in front of him. One with the same name, the other with the same face. Who had the advantage? Of course it was his face. Wan Shuang walked over to the railing and took a sip of wine. Looking at the open-air theater stage below, he seemed to be immersed in the performance. His expression was somewhat intoxicated, but the words that came out of his mouth were cold. Feng Zhao, right? Uncle will give you a piece of advice.
Give up on this idea.
The production team will never choose you. You are too young, and you're not an actor. In a project of this level, Director Roman will not use a newcomer for an important role, let alone a young outsider. Pausing, Wan Shuang glanced at Feng Zhao. Seeing that Feng Zhao did not have any reaction, he continued, I am not saying all this to bully you. My status is not enough, and it will be difficult for me to snatch a role, but my goal is to be a special actor who plays Feng Zhao. If I don't get chosen for Founding Era, there are still other routes. What about you? Forgive me for speaking bluntly, but in this competition, your advantage is not as great as mine. Even that young master of Lijiu's Renault family had not been able to snag any good roles in Founding Era. An important role like Feng Zhao in the series could not tolerate the slightest mistake. Or could it be that your reputation is greater than Zero's? Your backing is even stronger than Zero's? From Wan Shuang's point of view, although Feng Zhao had gained some fame in the past 2 years and had made a name for himself globally, he could only be considered an internet celebrity. Compared to an internet celebrity like Zero, he was still a far cry. Even Zero did not manage to snag a satisfactory role. Who the hell are you, Feng Zhao? Don't you have any fucking idea whether or not you can get chosen? How much do you know about this Feng Zhao person? If you want to fight for this role, you can't just come up with an identical name and have a bit of fame online. Do you know about Feng Zhao's work and combat environment back then? Do you understand his temperament, mentality, and lifestyle habits? If you want to play this kind of role well, you need to spend a lot of time and research, you need to constantly strive for perfection, and you need to cast away your original self. Are you ready for all this? Wan Shuang had drunk some wine and talked a little too much. Feng Zhao just listened quietly at the side. Wan Shuang thought that what he had said was effective and had influenced Feng Zhao's decision, causing this young man to have the intention to withdraw. But in reality, there was no intention to withdraw. At this moment, Feng Zhao's feelings were rather complicated. This person in front of him, whose name he did not know and whose background he did not know, who looked almost exactly the same as him, had solemnly vowed that he wanted to be a special actor who played him and had even advised him to flip through historical materials to understand the role. Chapter 290. Actually, some of what Wan Shuang said did make sense. Feng Zhao knew this clearly. Feng Zhao's disadvantage was that he was not an actor and had never acted formally before. In terms of acting, he did not have any works that he could bring out, let alone experience. He simply had none. But he still had to try. Even if he was rejected, at least he had tried.
Why was he so fixated on this?
Why did he overestimate his abilities and fight for a role in a TV series when it had nothing to do with his profession? Different actors playing the same role would give people different impressions. For people of the new era, Yanzhou's leader, Feng Zhao, had the lowest presence among leaders of the same rank. This was also related to Feng Zhao not being able to last until the end. There were videos and images left behind, but many of them were not released to the public. Unlike those generals who had lived until the founding of the new era, they had been able to leave behind video records. What kind of person was the historical Feng Zhao like? Not to mention people from other continents, even Yanzhou natives did not know. All they knew were those thin words and pitifully few pictures in history books. As for unofficial history, they were just gossip and could not be taken seriously. Fang Zhao had once bought an unofficial history book on the sales charts out of curiosity. He had been so angry that he had left. At that time, Zuyu had noticed that his boss did not look too good and had even explained, "Don't take this too seriously. It's just some nonsense." In the past, some authors had written too much about a few great generals, angering the descendants of the great generals and getting banned. As for the book that Fang Zhao had read, it had been made up to a lesser extent and had not been targeted by the descendants of the great generals of the various continents. Founding Era was an adaptation of historical facts and tried to be as realistic as possible. However, the script would surely be altered for artistic effect, so it would not be exactly the same as real history. Even so, Fang Zhao still hoped to let people 500 years in the future see a more realistic Fang Zhao that was closer to the truth of history. He hoped to let everyone see the Fang Zhao version of Fang Zhao in the first officially approved large-scale TV series of the Period of Destruction. As for acting, Fang Zhao still had some confidence in himself. To be honest, during the Period of Destruction, in such a chaotic and complicated environment, there were conflicts between people, and leaders of their level were all drama queens. It was necessary to pretend to be weak, to pretend to be happy, angry, sad, or joyful. In fact, many times, in order to achieve one's goal, one had to pretend to know how to hide. And as his status grew higher and higher, it was even more impossible for him to reveal his true emotions at all times. If he was the slightest bit careless, he and his comrades would lose their lives. But how to act in front of the camera, how to act well, he still had to learn. After all, he was not a professional. Fang Zhao had already read up on some information on the performing arts field and had a theoretical understanding. He had also signed up for virtual classes online and taken virtual classes. These were all preparatory work. Fang Zhao also didn't think that he could really beat those established movie stars in an instant. He just had an advantage in terms of understanding of the characters compared to others. He understood his advantages, but his disadvantages were obvious as well. As for what Wan Shuang had said, his main goal was to make Fang Zhao back off. One less competitor meant one more hope. Fang Zhao understood, but he did not say anything. He was just too astonished to see someone who looked exactly like him. He could not help but be curious. There were many people who looked alike in this world, but this was the first time Fang Zhao had encountered such a situation. At this moment, a group of youths came out of a restaurant not far away. They reeked of alcohol and laughed as they passed by Fang Zhao and Wan Shuang. Listening to their conversation, they were going to an entertainment venue. It was a very common type of people. Fang Zhao's gaze swept across them, pausing briefly on one of the youths before naturally shifting his gaze away. He said to Wan Shuang, "Sorry, I have something to attend to." Wan Shuang stopped talking. Hearing Fang Zhao say this, he smiled and said, "All right, you go ahead." Seeing Fang Zhao's departing figure, Wan Shuang thought that his words had worked. This young man finally could not hold back his pride and wanted to escape. Indeed, he is still too young. Wan Shuang shook his head and sighed. What he had said just now was indeed reasonable, but his main goal was to make Fang Zhao give up on this idea. To be so easily persuaded and change his mind, he was indeed still a youngster. And on the other side, Fang Zhao, who did not know Wan Shuang was lamenting, was following behind that noisy group of youths. His main focus was on one person. He could smell the stench of blood on that young man. Furthermore, although that person seemed to be chatting happily with those around him, they might not really be together. There was something wrong with this person. Given Fang Zhao's accumulated experience from his previous life, he might not be able to completely see through a person, but with his eyesight and intuition, as long as he sensed that something was wrong, then there was definitely a problem. He followed at a moderate distance and did not let anyone detect him. Further ahead was the area on the cruise that was constructed like a street. It was even noisier, and both sides were lined with shops selling all sorts of things. There were also entertainment venues. At this time, it was bustling. It was similar to some of the bustling streets on land. Fang Zhao watched as that young man separated from that group. That group headed for the casino, while that young man headed for a restaurant on the other side of the street. After some thought, Feng Zhao dialed the ship's police number. That's right. To ensure the safety of the people on board, this cruise ship had armed guards. This was also one of the basic equipment for large cruise ships in Tizansia. Very quickly, the call went through. Hello, this is Tizansia Cruise Ship Number 9's police office. There's someone here. You better check it out, Feng Zhao said. In the cruise ship's police office, a young police officer was looking at the screen. As the call went through, the caller's information and location were displayed. The screen was split into two. The left side displayed Feng Zhao's identity information, while the right side displayed the surveillance footage. In the middle of the screen was Feng Zhao. When he saw Feng Zhao's identity information and the particularly eye-catching reserve duty major column, the police operator's eyebrows twitched. His originally casual expression was replaced with seriousness as he sat up straight. The police officer beside him saw the situation and also quietly came over to look at the screen. They often received calls from children of wealthy families who had nothing better to do and often encountered pranks. Therefore, when they had heard Feng Zhao's calm and unhurried tone, and there had been no abnormalities in the location and the surrounding area, they had mistakenly thought that Feng Zhao was calling the police for fun. But now that he had seen the reserve duty major tag, he could no longer treat it as a joke. Feng Zhao's current status and popularity on the internet did not warrant special treatment from the cruise ship's police officers. The police officers here had seen many celebrities on a regular basis. The police officers knew Feng Zhao and knew that he had been trending on the internet for a while, but they did not know any more detailed information. But now that they had seen the reserve duty major tag, they were more serious. This had more influence on them, and they were more willing to trust the judgment of this reserve duty officer. As for what Feng Zhao had said, they would rather believe it, just in case. We have already determined your position. Please describe the target's location and physical characteristics, the police officer said. As he spoke, Feng Zhao walked into the large, diversified restaurant. The bustling atmosphere and the aroma of food assaulted him. The restaurant was crowded and a little noisy. Scanning the area, Feng Zhao continued, about 20 meters in front of me, young man, slightly thin, 173 centimeters tall, short brown hair, dark gray jacket, just got a glass of wine from the bar counter. There was no need for a more detailed description. Feng Zhao knew that with current surveillance technology, since the people in the police office could easily find him, it was easy to lock onto the target. Sure enough, before Feng Zhao had even finished speaking, the other party had already locked onto the target and even let Feng Zhao confirm it. On the screen in the police office, the target's identity and information were displayed as the target was locked onto. From the looks of it, there was nothing unusual about the other party's identity, but that didn't mean it was true. It was possible to fake it. Keep an eye on him. Pull up the surveillance footage of him. The people in the police office began to move. After the call, Feng Zhao went in search of something to eat. He would leave the rest to the police. Casually making a report to the police would hide his merits and reputation. Arresting the criminal would be left to the police. Although he was a reserve duty major and legally equipped with a gun, he had no right to interfere in this sort of place. In less than 2 minutes, Feng Zhao could no longer see any trace of the suspicious person in the restaurant. He had probably left the restaurant, but the rest could be left to the ship's police. Feng Zhao did not need to worry about it. Withdrawing his gaze, Feng Zhao sat by the window, enjoying his dinner while thinking about what to do next. The place by the window was a little cool, but it was quieter and not as hot. It was suitable for thinking. At the same time, in the police office that had received the call, an investigation was underway. The captain of the police station looked at the surveillance footage and scanned the results of the investigation with a sharp gaze. It doesn't seem like much of a suspect, but in the 5 minutes he disappeared half an hour ago, where did he go? Continue investigating. Based on my experience, this person might really be suspicious. Chapter 291. Fang Zhao did not know what the police officers on the cruise ship were discussing about him. He was wondering if he would run into Director Roman at the auction later. How many competitors would he have? How could he resolve this? Because of his habits from the period of destruction, Fang Zhao ate rather quickly. However, to adapt to his current lifestyle, he had slowed down considerably. Even so, he was still slightly faster than others. Fang Zhao could feel the gazes of those around him landing on him, but they did not have any ill intentions, so he did not mind. After finishing his meal, Fang Zhao checked the time. There was still some time before the auction started, so he gave Zuyu a call to ask about the situation on his end. Zuyu also did not have any news about Director Roman, but he had overheard people mentioning Director Roman in conversations, and they had all connected it to the auction. Therefore, at this auction, he was afraid that he would run into many people with the same goal. After ending the call, Fang Zhao saw that it was about time. Just as he was about to get up and leave, he heard a gentle laugh. Fang Zhao. Fang Zhao raised his head and saw a pretty blonde girl sitting in the seat opposite him. In her hand was a half-filled cup of sweet fruit tea. The blonde girl stared at Fang Zhao. I know you. That year in Huangzhou, I met you at Fiery Bird's annual gala. My friends and I are all your fans. Although she spoke very excitedly and her facial expression was slightly exaggerated, her gaze was rather calm. When Fang Zhao had been in Yenzhou, he had seen many crazy fans. In comparison, he realized that this blonde girl's excitement, as if she had seen an idol, was just an act. Actually, it was understandable. People who appeared at Tizanxia and could leisurely have fun on such a luxurious cruise ship where the rich congregated could not be of poor background. Even top-notch celebrities were not uncommon, so there was nothing to be excited about facing Fang Zhao. Furthermore, from what she had said, Fang Zhao guessed that she was probably from Huangzhou. Besides what she had just said, people from Huangzhou also had an air of superiority, as well as the way they spoke and their accent. What are you doing here? Could it be? The blonde girl leaned forward and approached Fang Zhao. Her dark blue eyes stared at Fang Zhao with interest. Are you also here for Director Roman? Just as he was about to reply, he heard the blonde girl say, It doesn't matter if you don't want to admit it. I understand. Out of 10 actors I met today, 8 of them are here for Roman. The auction is about to start. I won't hold you up any longer. Give me an autograph as a souvenir. I have 2 friends who are also fans of yours, but it's a pity they went out shopping just now. He said he wanted Fang Zhao to sign, but he didn't bring out any signature card or anything. He didn't even have a pen. Fang Zhao looked at her in silence. Perhaps realizing that there was nothing suitable for her to sign, the blonde girl did not feel awkward. Instead, she took off her jacket and threw it in front of Fang Zhao. Just sign it. The blonde girl was wearing a thin sleeveless top, revealing a large portion of her stomach. She had a rebellious face, a vibrant beauty that clashed with purity and sexiness. The blonde girl twirled a cup of fruit tea in one hand and played with a strand of hair in the other. She stared at Fang Zhao with a mischievous smile, wanting to capture any trace of awkwardness or embarrassment on his face or any other indescribable emotion. Fang Zhao glanced at her, raised his hand, and closed the window beside him. He got an attendant to bring over a pen suitable for signing clothes. He quickly signed his name and handed the clothes over. The night breeze is very chilly. The temperature is low. The blonde girl paused, clearly dissatisfied with this sort of reply. She casually took the autographed clothes without looking at them. Instead, she said, Don't you have anything else to say to me? Fang Zhao thought for a bit and said amiably, Have you finished your homework? These words were even colder than the sea breeze blowing in from the window. The blonde girl seemed to be frozen. Her mischievous smile turned into astonishment. She had not expected Fang Zhao to suddenly ask this question. She had been promoted from Secondary 5 to Secondary 6 this year. New Century Secondary 6 and 6 were equivalent to Senior 2 and Senior 3 in the old era. Based on the situation of most secondary schools in the new era, this period of time had a lot of homework. Back in Huangzhou, the summer holidays had not ended yet, but school was about to start. The summer homework load was not small, and children from rich families were also under pressure. Furthermore, she really had not finished her summer homework.
Huffed.
Spoil sport. The smile on the blonde girl's face disappeared. She pulled a long face and left in a huff with a pft. Feng Zhao sighed. I really don't know what children these days think about all day. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly received a new call. It was an unknown number, but there was a security verification symbol behind the number. Feng Zhao picked up. Feng Zhao. This is Tizansia Cruise Ship 9, Captain Eric. In the police office, Captain Eric had an ugly expression on his face. After Feng Zhao had called the police, he had also sensed that the person was suspicious through the surveillance footage. While maintaining surveillance, he had also sent people over, but he had not expected that the other party would disappear very quickly from the surveillance footage. The people he had sent over could not find the target either. At the same time, Eric had received news that 2 crew members had been found unconscious and seriously injured in a warehouse. If they had not been carefully investigated, no one would have discovered them. If they had been any later, the 2 might not have been saved. After confirming that a malicious incident had occurred, they continued to investigate the ship for abnormalities and increased their efforts to find the suspect while not causing panic among the tourists. However, that person was as slippery as a loach. Relying on his size advantage, he weaved in and out of the crowd. In the blink of an eye, he had disappeared. Although many places on the ship had surveillance cameras installed, tycoons were concerned about privacy. Therefore, only a few public places and some commercial areas had surveillance cameras. Not every place was under their control. What if they lost him? What if they could not find the target? Expand the search area and continue searching?
Search.
Definitely, they had to send more people to search everywhere. But at the same time, Eric made a prompt decision and contacted Feng Zhao. People were different. Some people had dog noses, such as cemetery guards. No matter how well you disguised yourself, you might not be able to escape their eyes and unexplainable super intuition. Since Feng Zhao had been the one to call the police, and Feng Zhao had the eyesight of a cemetery guard, Eric would let Feng Zhao assist. Looking at Feng Zhao's file, he had been able to seize the opportunity of a 1-year military service to become an officer at such a young age. Presumably, his ability was high. Even if the news was exaggerated, it would not be too outrageous. That was why there was someone here. It would be a waste not to use him. Otherwise, there might be another unsolved case. Why was it another? Because this sort of thing was too common. Furthermore, many tycoons on the cruise had their own bodyguards. They simply did not care about external matters. Whether others were dead or alive, whether they were missing or not, what did it have to do with them? As long as they had fun and enjoyed themselves to the fullest, they did not care about anything else. In any case, it was fine as long as your police team did not spoil my fun. Therefore, even if Eric wanted to vigorously investigate, he would be obstructed. This was also another reason why he wanted to seek Feng Zhao's help. Save trouble. Efficiency. Sufficiently low-key. After Eric briefly explained the situation to Feng Zhao, he expressed his request for Feng Zhao's assistance in finding the target. Feng Zhao looked at the time. The auction was about to start. Without much hesitation, Feng Zhao replied, "All right. What's the other party's route of movement? Where did you lose him?" As he listened to the conversation transmitted through his earpiece, Feng Zhao quickly left the restaurant in the opposite direction of the auction. In another corner of the restaurant, the blonde girl who had just asked for Feng Zhao's autograph met up with a few of her friends and discussed the matter of asking for Feng Zhao's autograph. "My Zhao god is here too? Where? A pair of twin siblings craned their necks to look around. When the blonde girl said that her friends were Feng Zhao's fans, she really was not lying. These 2 siblings were indeed Feng Zhao's fans, and they were the more infatuated type. When they heard that Feng Zhao was also on this cruise, they immediately got excited. "He left. I just saw him leave in that direction in a hurry." The blonde girl pointed in the direction that Feng Zhao had left. After saying that, the blonde girl felt that something was amiss. That isn't the direction of the auction. Don't tell me he isn't going to look for Director Roman? Did I guess wrong? Oh, right. I heard that the chief director of Founding Era is on this cruise and will appear at the auction, another person said. Speaking of Feng Zhao, I remember that there was once a poll online for who should act as Feng Zhao. I also voted for Feng Zhao, but that was just for fun. Honestly speaking, there is no way he will be chosen. The two siblings, who had originally been disappointed when they heard that Feng Zhao had left, became unhappy when they heard their companion's words. Why can't my Zhao god be chosen? Yes, he definitely can. The two siblings were resolute in defending their idol. They had started out as fans of the game, but after a series of events, they had become brainless fans of Feng Zhao.
Their friends also knew about this.
When the topic of their idol came up, these two siblings' IQ, whatever it was, all went offline. To put it bluntly, they had been normal people just a moment ago, but they had suddenly become brainless. Youngsters were easily impulsive, especially teenagers. When their emotions were stirred up, their logic was moving. The few people who had just said that Feng Zhao would not be chosen raised their hands helplessly. All right, let's not talk reason with brainless fans. After some time, you will know what the outcome will be. Facts speak louder than words. Actually, these two siblings were not really brainless. Of course, they understood the stringent requirements for such a super project. If it was a game, it would be fine, but if it was a film or TV series, Feng Zhao really had no chance. But in front of their little friends, they were just unwilling to admit it. Don't be fooled by how confident they had been when they had argued just now. After they calmed down and regained their rationality, they were still frowning and sighing silently. Sigh. Why isn't the Founding Era project delayed for another 20 or 30 years? At that time, perhaps Feng Zhao's popularity and status would rise by quite a few notches, and he would have some fighting power. Right now, it is indeed too early. But whether or not Founding Era would be rebooted, what the timing would be, and how the actors would be chosen were really not things that people like them could interfere with. Chapter 292. Regardless of what the siblings were thinking, they could not find Feng Zhao for the time being. They even specially went to the auction house to take a look, but they still did not see a trace of Feng Zhao. Either he is in some private room, or he really is not here. I saw him walking in the opposite direction. Maybe he really did not want to come over here. Or maybe there are too many people here, and we could not find him. Forget it, stop looking. In any case, he is on this cruise ship. Who knows, you might see him again tomorrow. The siblings' friends advised them to give up looking, but after the two of them searched to no avail, they could only give up. Wan Shuang, who had also come for the director, took a look around the auction house. He did not see Roman or Feng Zhao. He thought to himself, Feng Zhao really did not come? Indeed, it is because of what I said earlier. On the other side, Feng Zhao followed the clues Eric had provided and headed over. This is where he disappeared? Feng Zhao stood on the cruise ship's central plaza. This was the core open-air leisure area of the cruise ship. There were many people at all times. Besides a few commercial shops, there were also many self-service vending machines. Among the tourists coming and going, Feng Zhao also saw a few plain-clothed people. These were probably the people Eric had sent over. My team has split up and searched there for nearly 10 minutes, but they have not seen him. The surveillance equipment has not been able to find him, and the facial scans from the surveillance cameras have not been able to find him. I suspect that he is wearing a mask and has changed his clothes, Eric said over the call. If the target had disguised himself before they could react, and if the target had other accomplices to help him escape, then it would be very difficult to find him. Furthermore, so much time had passed. Even a minute was enough for a person to hide. Furthermore, it had already been 10 minutes since they had lost sight of the target. There were too many people in this area. Even in the police bay, looking at the people on the surveillance screens made Eric feel tired. He had a feeling that he did not know where to start. Although this was not the first time such a situation had occurred on this cruise ship, Eric still felt helpless every time he encountered it. There were too many people on the cruise ship with special statuses. Their search operations were limited, and their hands and feet were tied. His subordinates, including himself, also had limited abilities. Taking another look at Feng Zhao, who was standing there, Eric also realized that he was making things difficult for Feng Zhao, so he told Feng Zhao, "Forget it. If you have other matters to attend to, go ahead. I will send more people here to investigate." "Okay, I'll take a look around first." Since he was already here, Feng Zhao did not intend to leave immediately. The auction had already started, and he would not be able to make it. The entrance was closed, and he could not enter. He might as well search around. Any clues would be good. Somewhere on the 12th floor, a person came out of the disco. It was the suspect that the police were looking for. He stood leisurely in front of the railing and answered a phone call. "They will withdraw in half an hour," the other side said. "Who are the reinforcements you speak of?" he asked. "I don't know. The eavesdropping information is not complete. I only know that it was the person who called the police." "He's the one who caused the police to target me? He's here? Which one?" He knew that he had been targeted by the police because someone had called the police. This had directly disrupted his escape plan and caused him to be exposed in advance. He actually called the police. "Damn it. I feel that the most important thing for you now is to wait," the voice in the earpiece advised. "I know. After this job, I will leave this place and hide for a few years." But he really wanted to know who had called the police. What had the other party seen? Where had he exposed himself previously? His gaze swept across the central square, and he saw a few plainclothes policemen. Plainclothes policemen?
Uffed.
Even if this bunch of people changed their clothes, they would not be able to hide their stench. The corners of his mouth curled up in a mocking smile. He liked to stand on high ground and watch this bunch of people search for him, thinking that they were in hiding. However, his smile did not last long before his face froze. He saw a person. When their gazes met, a rare trace of fear surfaced in his heart the moment the other party looked over. Then, he saw the other party stare in his direction and say a few words. Following that, the few plainclothes policemen all looked in his direction. After that, the group of police officers were like starving cats that had smelled blood, and they all surrounded him. "You've been exposed." The voice in the earpiece sounded doubtful and incredulous. "I wore a mask, but you've still been exposed. What did you do?" The voice in the earpiece sounded anxious. "Nothing. I just fucking glanced at him, unintentionally." On the other side, Feng Zhao had originally been searching floor by floor. He had not expected to see the person directly. The other party had even boldly stood at the railing and looked down. After informing the police officers, Feng Zhao also chased in that direction. Police station. A police officer staring at the monitor said in amazement, "It's really this person? But his hair color and appearance have changed. Should be right. Otherwise, our people would have found him by now. Otherwise, why would he be running?" Eric was now incomparably glad that he had found Feng Zhao. Otherwise, who would have known that this unbridled stranger standing there was actually the suspect they had been searching so hard for? That impressive? I think Feng Zhao could totally go to the Cemetery of Martyrs on Memorial Day to work part-time, another police officer lamented. Eric was not thinking that much now. His previous dismay had been swept away. He held the communication device in his hand and gave instructions to his team members spread out on each floor. His eyes fixed on the screen, he said excitedly, "Catch him. Surveillance. Watch closely. Don't let him get away this time." Seeing that Feng Zhao was also heading over, Eric was about to tell Feng Zhao not to participate in the chase, but on second thought, he restrained himself. It was better to wait until they really caught the suspect. What if they lost him again? Central Square. Tonight, Feng Zhao was dressed in a more formal evening gown. This kind of attire was not conspicuous here. It was for tonight's auction. Feng Zhao had wanted to dress willfully, but during his time at Silver Wing, he knew that such formal attire gave a better impression. It also had the solemnity and seriousness of an interview. Only when one's status was high would one have the capital to be willful. Xue Jing and Ming Song had both told Feng Zhao that it was better to abide by the rules before he reached that level, so Feng Zhao had specially dressed formally. But now that the situation was special, he did not care whether it was formal or not. Listening to the movements of the suspect transmitted over his earpiece, Feng Zhao took off his coat and hung it on a public clothes hook beside the flower bed. He also swiped a leash from the vending machine. It was the kind of leash that tourists at the pool used to tie to children's backpacks or swimming rings to prevent them from getting lost. It could be retracted and adjusted in length and elasticity. There were even cartoon patterns on the leash, pink and blue. It was very childish. Feng Zhao tugged on it. It was still considered sturdy. The police officers watching Feng Zhao's movements through the surveillance cameras were a little confused by Feng Zhao's series of actions. Captain Eric only glanced over. He simply had no time to express his opinion. He had received information from the pursuers. The target has gone to the top floor. He has gone over to the bow of the ship. Hearing this, Eric, who had been closely following the chase, had a guess in his heart. This person seemed to be very familiar with every part of the ship. Had he been here for a long time? There were also people guiding him in secret. Perhaps some of the previous cases on the ship had been committed by them. Eric became even more excited when he thought of this. Regardless of whether he could render meritorious service or not, if he could solve the previous few cases, the sullen feeling in his heart would dissipate. Continue the chase. If I still lose you this time, don't come and see me. Eric told Feng Zhao the information he had received. Right now, the elevators here are very crowded. There is a door 20 meters to the left of your current position. Open it and follow the passageway straight for about 70 meters. Make a right turn, and you will see a special elevator. I will speak to the main control room and give you special privileges. Very soon you will be able to go up to the top floor. Where are you running to? On the other side. After Feng Zhao left the core area of the central plaza, he ran faster and faster. The crowd became sparse, and Feng Zhao kept increasing his speed. His running route did not follow Eric's instructions at all. At one end of the central plaza, there was a rock-climbing wall made to imitate a natural rock wall to satisfy the needs of a group of tourists who loved extreme sports. At this moment, there was a small group activity at the rock-climbing wall. The instructor had just demonstrated to the team members how to climb quickly and safely. He also took the opportunity to compete with a few competitive people and ruthlessly suppress their drive. All right, let's take a break before we continue. Next up, who wants to compete with me? Just as the instructor finished speaking, he noticed a figure suddenly flash past him. Then, following the rock wall, with a whoosh, the figure climbed up. The other party climbed at lightning speed, as if he were walking on flat ground. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared from the top of the rock wall. To be precise, the other party directly climbed this rock wall to the top deck of the cruise ship. In the group, those who raised their heads earlier could still see the back of the climbing figure. Those who raised their heads later could only see the rock wall. After a while, the instructor asked in a daze, "Just now, someone climbed up?" "Seems like it," the team member replied. "Are you sure it was a person?" "Seems like it, I guess." "Who was that just now?" "I didn't even give the order to start." "I didn't see clearly." There was still someone who continued to stare at the rock wall with his head raised. "Looks like he was barehanded. His attire isn't professional either." "Very good. Now, who can tell me how a person barehanded, without the help of any tools, and dressed like a layman managed to climb up at such speed?" the instructor asked. Silence. The extreme sports team gathered to face the wall and pondered. Why was that so? The instructor waited for a while, but there was no reply. He clapped his hands and called everyone back to their senses. "All right, let's change the question.
Who knows such an expert?"
Everyone shook their heads and continued to face the wall and ponder. The instructor asked around and realized that he did not know who the expert who had jumped up with a whoosh just now was. What the hell? In the police station. The people who had seen the scene through the surveillance cameras were already dumbfounded. The cruise's main control room was talking to Eric. "Captain Eric, the application for the elevator has been approved." When will the person you mentioned arrive? You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.